In a modern world of monsters, a legend rises again.
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Tanjiro Became the Legendary Demon Slayer in Modern Era Movie. Before we start, please go support Madkotto for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Tanjiro is a male. Tanjiro, an 18-year-old with an ordinary life, will nevertheless have to assume the role of the legendary demon slayer after a tragic event in his life to protect his sisters and the entire world from the clutches of the demon lord Muzan Kibutsuji. An ordinary day. Madkotto presents. Brother, get up already, we're going to be late. A beautiful young woman with long black hair and large fuchsia eyes that rested beneath two fringes with tips of the same color as her eyes shook a young man with black hair with red tips. He wore rectangular earrings with a print of a sun and a scar on the side of his forehead that was covered by his long hair. "What's wrong, Kanny?" The boy mumbled sleepily, revealing his scarlet eyes. "Shinobu and Kanao are waiting for us downstairs," the fuchsia-eyed girl said worriedly. Her brother was someone who got up early every day, but this time he didn't. "Oh, okay, give me a few moments, I'll be right down." The girl obeyed the order and left the room. Meanwhile, he got out of bed, his body hurting a lot, and proceeded to look at himself in the mirror of his room. "I must be more careful, I shouldn't have faced him so tired. It could have been worse," he told himself while touching the large scars that lay on his body. "I'd better change and go downstairs quickly." Brushing his teeth, putting on almost all the garments that made up his uniform, and tying his shoelaces was the last thing the young man did before going down to the dining room of the house. "Good morning, Oni-san." Three beautiful girls, seated at a large table, spoke to him. "Sorry I'm late, it's just that they wiped the floor with me during karate class." The young man with red eyes smiled apologetically as he went to get an apron ready to make breakfast. "But you're the best in your class," said a girl with black hair, two strands framing her face that faded to purple and large wisteria-colored eyes, sounding a little angry. "That doesn't mean I'm invincible," the boy said from the kitchen. "That explains the small bruises on your face," said a girl with black hair with pink tips and large lilac eyes. Yes, that's right. You should be much more careful. It's not the first time you've come in like this and ended up making the three of us even more worried," said Kanny Kacho, the eldest of the four sisters, who was 19 years old. "I can't promise anything," said Tanjiro Kacho, the middle brother, who was 18 years old. "That breakfast looks delicious," said Shinobu Kacho, the second middle sister, who was 18 and a half years old. "I agree too," smiled Kanao Kacho, the younger sister, who was 17 and a half years old. "Anyway, let's have breakfast or we'll be late," said the boy with the sun earrings, placing 3 plates of and a small dessert for her sisters. "Do you want coffee?" The privileged Kacho family, owners of the giant pharmaceutical company in all of Japan, lost their entire inheritance to their 4 children due to a terrible accident, with Kanny and Tanjiro assuming the role of family head. And so they headed to the distinguished Kyoto school, ready to begin a new week at school. "I need to analyze it even more. This time I managed to kill 100 people. Oni-san, is something wrong?" The 3 beautiful girls asked the boy with charcoal hair, who, upon seeing them, almost fell face-first to the ground. "It's nothing, just some trivial things that are on my mind," he replied, embarrassed. "Careful." The young man with burgundy hair quickly stepped in front of his sisters, blocking a soccer ball that was heading straight for them. "Can I help you with anything?" I asked with a forced smile as I saw a couple of boys approaching my sisters. "Relax, can't we admire this trio of beauties?" one of the boys said. The young women quickly got behind their brother, who adopted a serious and cold expression. "My sisters don't like you, get out of here." "Are they your sisters?" "Oh brother, you're so lucky." The other boy joined the conversation, wanting to put one of his hands on the dark-haired boy's shoulder, but the latter ended up grabbing his wrist. "Well, goodbye," she said in a very cold tone, roughly pushing the pair away and taking her sisters with her. One of his defining characteristics was that he was very jealous and overprotective of his sisters. He didn't want anything or anyone near them. "So what are your plans for today?" Tanjiro asked at the school entrance. "I'll be leaving late today. I have a meeting with my fencing teammates," Kanny said. "I'll continue working on my science project. I have to finish it before the competition against the other schools, so I'll be out late too," Shinobu said. "The art teacher asked me to help with the theater decorations, so I'll be out late anyway," Kanna replied. "And what do you plan to do?" asked the 3 butterfly sisters. They had earned this name for being recognized as the prettiest girls in the whole school and for always wearing their distinctive butterfly brooch. "Well, I have to go buy some things for dinner, so I don't have anything else to do," he replied, a little embarrassed. "Aren't you going to take us this time?" said the trio of sisters, somewhat annoyed. "Just for today, I promise," she finished with a big smile, a smile her sisters loved and that left them satisfied. See you later, Oniasan said Kani, Shinobu, and Kano, giving Tanjiro a kiss on the cheeks and forehead before heading back to school. He loved them with all his heart, they were his everything, and for that reason he had to do it in order to protect them. He fled quickly from there, and with that same speed he began to do parkour towards the top of a small building ready for the encounter. Attention all units. Sightings of a group of demon-like beings have been reported in the streets of Hisakima. Please come immediately. It's 5 minutes from here. He was listening intently to the radio he had with him. The sun was already setting, and he began to see the lights of the buildings coming on. It was time to go after their heads. She adjusted the fabric bands on her arms and covered herself with the hood of her Hayori. I need answers from him. They are attacking us, I repeat, they are attacking us. These humans taste worse and worse. The hoarse voice of that demonic-looking being with large horns and fangs held the body of a woman cut in two. What will they feed on now? Shit, another demonic being replied. Keep firing, the officers shouted, continuing to fire bullets that the demons received as if they were nothing. This entire confrontation was recorded by the large cameras of reporters who crisscrossed the skies in helicopters, not missing a single second of it. You idiots never understand. The demon shouted, lunging at one of the police officers. Breath of fire, fourth stance. Waltz of flames. A powerful fire engulfed cut instantly decapitated that demon. The cameras watched in amazement at his emblematic figure, his distinguished suit, and his fiery gaze. It's the demon's slayer. Meanwhile, the people watching on their televisions shouted euphorically at his epic entrance, a hero loved by many or a nuisance and hated by others. Now you give me answers, the slayer spoke in his characteristically serious voice, pointing the tip of his sword at the demon's neck. Meanwhile, a liliacid girl, a purple-eyed girl, and a fuchsia-eyed girl watched the whole scene from the television. Their blush was immense upon seeing those scarlet eyes that pierced them to the very depths of their hearts. You're so cute. Hey everyone, it's Madkotto here with the new story I promised. What did you think? Should I continue it? Let me know in the comments. If it gets enough support, I'll be encouraged to write the next chapter. Anyway, see you later, D. Isn't it too late for dinner, from Tanjiro's point of view? I tightened my grip on my sword. I didn't have time for this. I needed to get information out of this wretch if he knew anything about him. Tell me, do you know him? I don't know what you're talking about. He seemed scared. I could feel his calm breathing becoming agitated just by mentioning him indirectly. I was losing patience and my time. Are you going to speak yes or no? I pushed it away quickly. What I saw was absolutely disgusting. A giant hand full of eyes was beginning to emerge from its mouth, followed by an immense mass of flesh that was slowly taking on a humanoid shape. That thing was huge. You talk and I'll kill you. Was that thing still that demon, or was it a different personality? You mustn't betray me. Beep. Okay, I have half an hour before I have to pick up my sisters from school dinner. I need to finish this quickly. At this rate, I won't get any information. Breathe. Breath of thunder, first stance. Small flashes of lightning enveloped the slayer. His eyes lit up and he focused them on the demon's neck. Flash of lightning. 7 times. A flash that was not captured by any human eye. The hunter, giving 7 powerful hits, ended up annihilating the demon who was not even aware that he had been killed. I still have to get used to the hybridization of breaths. I was a little tired, but I had time to go buy the ingredients for my dinner, so. Oni-san. Meanwhile, the people present the reporters and the same people who were in their homes watched the situation of the red-eyed killer answering a phone call. Canny, what's wrong? I spoke in a low voice, somewhat grumpy, afraid that all these people would hear me. Are you okay? My phone is tracking that you're near the demon slayer fight, the beautiful girl with fuchsia eyes said, sounding completely worried. I already told you to stop doing that. I'm not a child. But I'm really worried about you. I don't want anything to happen to you, Canny replied from her cell phone. I just came for some ingredients for dinner. Relax, I'm fine. Tell Shinobu and Kano not to call me. It's noisy here with all those people who want to see the demon slayer. Well, I love you very much, Oniasan. Yeah, bye. I hung up, annoyed by my phone. Mr. Slayer. People were starting to gather around. My nerves and time were getting the better of me. I'm sorry, I have to go. I spoke in the deepest voice I could muster, sheathed my sword and ran as fast as I could. I only have 20 minutes. At the supermarket. Oh God, you're the demon slayer. Yes, friend, I am the demon slayer. Is the chase 2 for 1 today? What? No, it would be tomorrow's. Good heavens. I can't believe you're in my store. Me neither. Can I leave my things here? I need to go to the bathroom. Of course, it's at the back on the right. Thank you. But what? I'm sorry, it's just that they just brought in the freshly baked bread. Do I have to get in line again? I'm sorry, Mr. Slayer. Dams, madam, you must not cut in line. You don't respect your elders. Didn't they teach you manners at the Demon Slayer's school? There's no school for that, ma'am. And there won't be one because of people like you. Do you want it in a plastic bag or a paper bag, Mr. Slayer? In the case of paper, we have to take care of the environment. Yes, and even more so now with global warming, the situation is tough. Do you have butter with or without salt? With salt. Wait for me, I'll bring it to you right now. I'm sorry, the lady just took the last one. Sorry I'm late, I had a few minor problems, the red-eyed boy smiled. His sisters looked at him, annoyed that he had taken so long to pick them up. Aren't you going to talk to me? The Koch sisters ignored his words, deciding to walk as fast as possible, leaving him behind. It wasn't easy taking care of my sisters, they've always been demanding of me. Although thinking about it, maybe they're upset if Canny told them about the call. It's very difficult to deal with. I can't risk them by telling them because I don't have as much attention for them anymore. I miss mom and dad so much. They always had a solution or knew what to do in these kinds of situations to cheer us up. I should apologize to Canny, she didn't mean to call me at that moment. She's my older sister, of course she'll always be worried about me. I'm not the kind of woman who can understand all three of them. Yeah, don't deny your sisters, you idiot. They have the right to be upset with me. You should apologize to them after dinner. Yes, I know it's not very good either. I felt very uncomfortable. They hadn't touched anything, they were just looking at each other. Today had not been my night. We're going back to our room now, Shinobu said in an annoyed tone. Okay, fine, I'll clear the dishes, don't worry. She sighed, is it really this awful when nobody pays attention to you? I took a tray and started clearing everything off the table. I went to the kitchen and put the dishes in the sink. It was going to be a long night for me, so I had time to wash them. I slowly climbed the stairs. I was eager to go to my room. I wanted this awful day to be over. I had reached the corridor. What is that? Is she crying? I was coming from my sister's room. I was scared, but it was my fault, so I bravely knocked on the door. Everything's fine. Leave us alone and go to sleep, Kanao and Shinobu said grumpily. I sat down and leaned my back against the door. What had I done to my sister? Canny, are you listening to me? Do you remember that day when I was left alone in preschool and no one wanted to play with me? Do you remember who was the only one who stayed for all the classes so I wouldn't keep crying and decided to give up her perfect attendance so I would smile again? On the first day of high school, I felt very sad because I was being made fun of for my scar on my forehead. I had to eat my lunch in the farthest part of the courtyards, but a certain nice girl I know decided to ignore her friends in order to be with me and decided to share a dessert that she made and that I loved to eat. In all of them, I always came first, always looking out for my own well-being, and I was acting like an idiot. Sister, I just want to thank you for always being there for me and caring for me. I'm sorry for being ungrateful and not fully appreciating what you do for me. If you don't want to talk to me, I completely understand. I'll wait to see that beautiful smile that cheers me up every day again. I got up from the floor. It was time to go to sleep. Sleep well. I love you with all my heart. Good night. It felt really bad when you spoke to me like that, Oni-san. The door had opened. The beautiful older sister approached the red-eyed boy to hug him tightly. He remained silent while giving her small kisses on her dark hair. I'm really sorry. That doesn't matter anymore. I'll keep taking care of you and worrying about you because I love you, Oni-san. The Fuchsiid girl smiled, a deep blush spreading across her cheeks. Me too, I let a smile form on my lips. What are you doing standing there? Come here. The remaining sisters joined in the warm embrace they shared with him. Bruawu. Girls, what was that? It's my stomach, Oni-san. I regret not touching your food. It looked really good, the purple-eyed girl said, sounding a little embarrassed. Oh, don't worry, I have more stored in the fridge, said the eldest brother of the trio of sisters. Oni-san, can we sleep in the living room? We want to sleep in a little late, said the girl with lilac eyes. Okay, that's fine. I hope we're not late for school tomorrow. Do you hear that? Canny asked, paying attention to the heavy raindrops outside the house. It's very likely they'll cancel classes tomorrow. It looks like it's going to be a storm. They just have to let us know by message, Shinobu replied. The four siblings separated and laughing went down the steps ready to have a sleepover, so to speak. It's never too late for dinner, Kano laughed, helping herself to some of her older brother's food. Rainy day. The raindrops fell loudly against the asphalt, small thunderclaps and quick flashes of light appeared throughout the city of Japan. Meanwhile, at the Kacha residence, a young man with black hair and red tips slept peacefully on the living room carpet, where he was surrounded by three beautiful girls who also enjoyed the warmth of the boy. Tuesday, 6 a.m. The alarm began to sound, the boy slowly opening his scarlet eyes and alerting all his senses listened to the small thunderclaps of that rainy day. I have messages. I picked up my cell phone and snooped through the notifications looking for the aforementioned information. To all students in general, due to the sudden change in weather, school activities will be suspended until further notice. Please spread the word. School administration. Okay, then it's a stay-at-home day, said the dark-haired boy, carefully pulling away from his sister's embrace, ready to start the day. 6:30 a.m. The sisters Kani, Shinobu and Kano had woken up. They were starting to stretch. They had slept wonderfully. It's very dark, Kani said, observing the torrential rain outside. Hey, Oniasan, Shinobu asked, drawing her sister's attention. Do you think she went upstairs to her room? Kano asked. She was heading towards the stairs, but that nervous voice she knew caught her attention. Here I am, Tanjiro replied nervously. He had been standing there for 5 minutes, during which he had observed his sister's totally provocative stretching. Good morning, Oniasan, the three of them said with a big smile. The great beauty of the three of them was already well known, but the fact of having to live with them made the Rubeid boy very nervous on several occasions. Here's your breakfast. The four siblings were having breakfast in the living room while watching the morning news report. The story was about the incident on Hisakima Street. Another altercation with the demons resulted in the deaths of 20 people. Thanks to the demon slayer, he managed to get there. Look at him, those eyes as beautiful as a sunset. Kano shouted excitedly. She was a huge fan of the slayer. Oh God, how is it possible that he can look so cool? Shinobu exclaimed, admiring him and not blinking during the battle he was having against the giant demon. Breath of Thunder, first stance. 7 hits. I don't think he's an ordinary human being, Kani analyzed, observing the powerful techniques, his movements and attacks. If he were, he would be at the absolute peak of human capabilities. Young Kacho watched with utter sadness as his sisters couldn't take their eyes off the television, scratching the back of his neck as he continued eating breakfast. I love him. The three of them shouted. Tanjiro, who at that moment was drinking a cup of hot chocolate, almost ended up choking on the hot liquid. What is this? He exclaimed, scared and confused. But in what context are they saying this? We're in love with him, just look at him, so tall, so strong, he kills those demons and asks for nothing in return because his heart is so noble, because most men aren't like that. How about we watch something else? Tanjiro said, trying to grab the remote control, but his sisters quickly stopped him. She could only wait for the news broadcast to end. Taking small sips of her hot chocolate, her gaze was disinterested. However, this had ended with the statements of the police committee. We believe he is only a threat to society. Apart from the fact that he always ends up destroying things and accumulating more expenses for repairs, as in his most recent fight. From now on, we will begin hunting down the demon slayer. Okay, now we'll move on to Fujima with the weather data. 2 p.m. This is great, said the young man with the Hanafuda earrings as he checked his demon slayer outfit. A suit that represented the tradition and legend that only the chosen one of each generation could wear, which consisted of a black Gakuren jacket with the iconic symbol of the Slayers. This means destroy in Spanish. A white button-down shirt, along with black Hakama pants and a large white belt, was accompanied by tabi socks, as well as a pair of zori with red straps and white cloth bands that were wrapped tightly around his calves and arms, along with his characteristic hayori with a black and green checkered pattern. Long and tight sleeves, possessing a large hood that served to cover most of his face, he had the habit of rolling up the sleeves of his hayori. Shirt and Gakuren jacket to his elbows because sometimes it got hot. Not only do I have to deal with demons now, but I'll also have to deal with the police officers. He decided to pack his clothes in a large trunk that also contained 2 large swords. My cell phone. I was checking my WhatsApp messages. They were from my friends and my cousin. In the chat. Nezuko, cousin, are you okay? I saw the morning news. Tanjiro, yes, I'm fine, although soon I won't be anymore. Zenitsu, good afternoon everyone. Nezuko-chan. Nezuko, good afternoon, but this is getting harder and harder for you, cousin. Tanjiro, tell me, Zenitsu, what do you think? Zenitsu, I'm just wondering how long you can keep up this double life before your sisters find out. Tanjiro, thanks for the support, friend. Inosuke, haha, what do subordinates do? Tanjiro, Inosuke, I already told you that we're not your subordinates, we're your friends. Inosuke, yeah, whatever, I saw the news. With the police thing, you could say you're really screwed now. Tanjiro, thank you too. Nezuko, what do you think about getting together at my house to talk about this further? Tanjiro, I don't think so, it's raining really hard. Zenitsu, I'd love to, but I don't think my parents will let me go out. Inosuke, seen at 2:45 p.m. Nezuko, my mom made tiramisu. Tanjiro, 4 o'clock seems good, right? Zenitsu, if that's the case, I'll be there. Inosuke, free food. Nezuko, then at 4 p.m. Zenitsu, I just keep wondering, why did we let Inosuke create the group? Just look at how he's added us. Inosuke, shut up, crybaby. I just need my umbrella, said the young man with black hair and red tips. The boy with the Hanafuda earrings left his room, walked down the hall and went down the stairs to the living room, where his sisters were sitting peacefully on the couch watching a movie on Netflix. Hopefully you get the reference. Where are you going? Kano asked, being the first to see him. Well, I'm going to Nezuko's house, Tanjiro replied calmly. With this rain, Kani asked, somewhat puzzled. Yes, it's because of an assignment we were given 2 days ago, Tanjiro replied. And what if you bring her here to the house? Shinobu said. I just don't want our work to be ruined by the rain, Tanjiro said, sounding uneasy because he was running late. I don't think the bus will come because of the bad weather. You'll most likely have to take the car, Kano said, stating the obvious. Exactly, the red-eyed man smiled sheepishly. Then I'll be going now. I love you, she said, then gave them a small kiss on their foreheads. I'll bring you something, Tanjiro finished, closing the door. The red-eyed man sighed outside the house. The sky was so dark and the rain so heavy. He opened his umbrella and headed to the garage. I hope Nezuko doesn't kill me for being so late, he lamented the worst. Most likely, Inosuke had already finished his portion of the tiramisu. Gonpakairo's squad. We find ourselves at the second residence of Kacho, a pretty 17-year-old girl with pink eyes, long black hair that faded to vermilion, who wore a small pink brooch on the left side of her head, watched from her living room window as a car stopped in front. A tall young man with black and red hair got out. She immediately greeted him even though she had gotten a little wet. Hi cousin, the pink-eyed girl smiled, giving him a hug. Hi Nezu, she replied cheerfully, let's go inside. Have Inosuke and Zenitsu arrived yet? If you're already inside, she replied, I saved your portion of the tiramisu. So what am I waiting for? 4:30 p.m. A quartet of young people were chatting very calmly, except for a red-eyed boy who was finishing eating a certain dessert. Thank you so much, Aunt Kai. It was delicious, Tanjiro said, finishing washing his dish. You're welcome. I'll be upstairs watching my show, Tanjiro's aunt said for the last time as she climbed the final step. Well, my mom's gone now, Nezuko said, checking the stairs before throwing herself onto the sofa. The Gonpakairo squad is reunited under the command of the great Inosuke. What do you think I should do? Asked the young man with red eyes, his gaze revealing concern because of his secret which only his closest friends knew. You can't just hide and let the police do the job, they're useless, said an 18-year-old with a somewhat effeminate appearance, large green eyes and black hair that faded to blue. I agree with Inosuke, the police don't know how to deal with demons. You're the only one capable of confronting them and stopping them, spoke an 18-year-old with blonde hair and amber eyes. I know that very well, Zenitsu, but I also run the risk of the police revealing my identity, my sisters or everyone else discovering that I'm the demon slayer or worse. If the demons found out, they would attack my sisters and I don't intend to risk them, the boy with the scar on his forehead said in a serious tone. But even so, Tanjiro, people will die. Innocent people will lose their lives if you don't wield your sword, Nezuko said worriedly. This is quite complicated to analyze. I scratched my head from the stress. Even though I wanted to refuse, I had to do it. It was my responsibility. Well, how about we go to the movies? Zenitsu said, trying to reassure his red-tipped friend. That would be great, said the pink-eyed girl. Okay, but I need to grab my Slayer outfit just in case. Besides, I promised to bring something for my sisters, said the boy with the Hanafuda earrings, pulling his car keys out of his pocket. Don't forget your umbrellas. Inosuke shouted as he fanned the utensil to them. 5:15 p.m. Just a moment, said a sweet voice from the other side of the door. Oniasan, Shinobu said, opening the door. Hi guys, the middle Kacha sister greeted cheerfully. Hello, here are some things I brought you, Tanjiro said hurriedly, quickly going up to his room. Hey guys, how's it going, Nezu? How have you been? She spoke with the characteristic cheerfulness that the Kacho sisters possessed. Well, you know, cousin, the usual stuff. Declarations of love and suitors, baking practice with mom, and all that. The dark-haired woman with vermilion tips replied with the same energy. And have you finished working with Oniai-san yet? Kano asked, joining the conversation. Well, yes. We'll hand it in tomorrow, the pink-eyed girl replied nervously. She knew it was all a lie. Tanjiro had told them so he could go out. She knew very well that while Tanjiro was very overprotective of them, they were even more jealous and overprotective of him. That seems strange to me. The school principal had told everyone that classes would resume until further notice. The young woman with dark hair and purple streaks replied to those words with a certain puzzlement. Well. Okay, we can go now, Tanjiro exclaimed, getting out of the car and carrying his backpack. Where are you going? Kani asked curiously. Let's go to the movies, Inosuke replied. Would you like to come? The dark-haired man with red tips asked kindly. Yes, it'll be so much fun being all together. We'll be down in a moment, replied the futzy teenager. Let's go, said Kanny, taking her two other sisters with her. They're going to take a while, right? Zenitsu asked, sitting down on the sofa. That's right, Tanjiro replied, agreeing with his friend. Well, what do we do while we wait? Zenitsu asked. Don't worry, I have the solution, Inosuke exclaimed, pulling something from his jacket pocket. Sure, why not? PSSSSSS, the pink-eyed teenager said, clearly uncomfortable with the card the yellow-eyed boy had pulled out. I feel sorry for you, said the teenager with red eyes, just like his cousin. Although I could cancel it if you admit I'm better than you, muahaha, the green-eyed teenager laughed diabolically. The yellow-eyed teenager simply proceeded to take the cards that belonged to them, ruining their play. We're ready, said the trio of butterfly sisters. Well, let's go to the car, Tanjiro said, embarrassed. Zenitsu covered his nose, Inosuke looked confused, and Nezuko gave a thumbs-up in full approval. 6 p.m. The cinema is already dark and we're not even in the theater, Kano said, sitting at a table with the others. It's incredible how the rain hasn't stopped, Shinobu said as she sipped her smoothie. It's only gotten heavier. There are a lot of people at the movies today, Kanny said, observing the huge crowd around them. Zenitsu-san, can I have some of your gummies? Of course, the blonde young man replied, blushing and nervous. Nezuko, Tanjiro, and Inosuke watched the blonde boy's expression with amusement. They were standing in the very long line to buy tickets. You know, it's been a while since we all went out together, the pink-eyed teenager smiled. With your job, you haven't had much time to have fun or relax. We missed you, Manjiro, Inosuke said, placing his hand on the red-eyed boy's shoulder. Tanjiro, and yes, friends, I missed you all. It's complicated living this kind of life, my sisters, school, work, and everything else. But if I see even a little free time in my schedule now, I'll spend it with you, Tanjiro smiled sincerely. That's the spirit, Kentaro, Inosuke laughed. From the moment they became friends, he could never call him by his real name, but he didn't care anymore. He had grown very fond of it because his friend with effeminate features was a bit abrasive, but he still loved him very much. Great, just 20 more people, and we can buy the tickets, Nezuko said diligently. Now that's what I call a positive attitude, Tanjiro replied, and the three of them started laughing. Listen. The green-eyed teenager caught their attention. Everyone present began to pay attention. The lights began to short-circuit and loud bangs could be heard from outside. This alerted the young man with scarlet eyes, Tanjiro. A powerful bolt of lightning struck from the sky. The impact was so strong that the cinema lights exploded. People began screaming in alarm at the event, and a strange light could be seen through the windows. Nezuko, Inosuke, please take care of my sisters, shouted the teenager with the Hanafuda earrings, quickly searching for a place to chain. Girls, calm down, Zenitsu spoke, trying to soothe the Kacho sisters, who were very frightened by everything that was happening. Let's get out of here, shouted Inosuke, who had come with Nezuko to attend to his friend's cousins. Meanwhile, outside that building, a strange entity appeared. It had no human form, and just seeing it chilled you to the bone. It was looking for something, or rather someone. Where are you, Slayer? I've come to end your damn life. We'll see about that. SH. The true identity of the Demon Slayer. 7:30 p.m. Breath of fire. Rapid flashes could be witnessed. An intense battle was raging between the Demon Slayer and the powerful demon. That's right, I'm the one who started this intense reign. The demon cackled, sinking into laughter. Your fire techniques are useless against me. I have the advantage here. Powerful electrical discharges began to emanate from its large body, becoming uncontrolled and impacting the adjacent buildings of the battle. You're not the only one who can use lightning to your advantage, the Slayer said as he began to breathe. Speed of the thunder. The young Slayer experienced a tremendous change in his speed. It seemed as if lightning were circulating on the ground. He approached and dodged the demon's attacks, which only made him angrier. Stay still, you bastard. The demon raised his hands towards the black clouds. Loud thunder began to be heard until suddenly a bestial lightning bolt fell on the Slayer, leaving him mortally wounded on the ground. What is this? I was in a very dark place. It seemed like I was floating. I can't breathe. Breathing techniques, powerful techniques used by Slayers to fight demons in the ancient Sengoku era, were 4 original styles that provided abilities depending on the swordsman's fighting style. Fire breathing, dance of the fire god, because that sounds cooler, granted the user incredible physical strength. Lightning breathing or thunder breathing granted the user sonic speeds. Wind breathing granted the user amazing agility, and water breathing granted the user an almost impenetrable defense. An ancient legend tells of a very powerful swordsman named Yoriichi Tsujikuni, who created the 4 breaths from one that has been lost to time, the legendary breath of the sun. However, another legend tells of another swordsman named Michikatsu Tsujikuni, rumored to be his older brother, who, unlike him, succumbed to the seductive power of demonic beings, giving rise to Kokoshibo, and making his unique breathing style invincible, the legendary breath of them. A fierce battle broke out between the 2 brothers, each carrying their own ideals. Light against darkness, good against evil, white against black, yin against yang, sun against moon. Giving it his all, Yoriichi was able to defeat him with his own hands, but the severe wounds and aftereffects of the battle caught up with him and killed him. Proud and confident, Kokushibo stood tall, puffed up with airs of grandeur because of his demonic immortality. But after all this, the demon swordsman died from something else, his main weakness, the first solar flares. Unable to die in such a pathetic way, he swore that he would reincarnate along with his invincible breath, making the world perfect for his demon lord Muzan Kibutsuji. But he hadn't counted on his younger brother reincarnating so he could stop him. No one knows what became of those powerful swordsmen. All that is known is that the endless struggle of hundreds of years has been reincarnated, and that only the chosen ones of each generation are capable of discovering the true power of those legendary breaths. The former wielders have passed on every ounce of their strength to the next successor, waiting until they are powerful enough to decide which ideology will ultimately prevail. From Nezuko's point of view, Inosuke put me down, the purple-eyed teenager screamed, hitting him for carrying her on his shoulders. Where is Onii-san? We must go back, shouted Kacho, the younger sister, trying to break free from the blonde boy's grip. Tanjiro told me he's okay, that he'll catch up with us soon, Nezuko shouted, running alongside Kani. Panic gripped the city. Everyone was running in terror from the battle raging between the demon slayer and the demon. They didn't care about getting soaked in the torrential rain, all they cared about was getting out of there. This way, Nezuko shouted, leading the group to take shelter inside a small building. God, what is that thing? Kani was very upset. How could a simple outing with her friends, where they were just looking to unwind for a while, have turned into the scene of a horrific battle? We have to find Onii-san, the trio of Kacho sisters exclaimed. They had a strong bond with their brother and were even willing to go back to what remained of the movie theater to find him. Calm down, girls. Tanjiro is a very strong boy. He'll be fine. The blonde boy wouldn't lose hope in his friend. He always got up stronger after falling. We're very worried about him, the three replied, very desperate. Believe me, I'm just as worried or even more so than you, but he called me earlier and said he was okay, the pink-eyed girl said, trying to calm her cousins. If that were the case, why hasn't he called us? Shinobu wondered aloud at her cousin's words. That's right, he always has the habit of talking to us when something happens. Kano joined her sister in her suspicion. Well, he must be trapped or hiding. Both the redhead and the black-haired girl were sweating profusely. Their nerves were on edge, which only increased Shinobu's suspicion. Could they be hiding something? I'm going to call him, Kani said. But what? Out of nowhere, something had crashed through the building's windows. He was completely injured and unconscious. It was the demon slayer who lay under a pile of objects. Inosuke, Nezuko, and Zenitsu stared with a horrible urge to vomit at Tanjiro's almost charred body, while the sisters cried their eyes out at seeing their hero on the verge of death. With this, my lord will promote me to the highest rank. The demon spoke, revealing two kanji characters engraved in his eyes, and not only that, another eye had opened on his forehead in which another kanji was engraved. The six of them were very scared. They had to leave quickly with great pain in their hearts at leaving their dear cousin friend because they had to protect what mattered most to him in his life, themselves and his sisters. That was the risk of being the demon slayer. Let's go, Inosuke shouted, leaving with the others. But Kani, Shinobu, and Kano somehow managed to break free from them and ignored their shouts and scolding. They mustered their courage and headed towards that hero whom they greatly admired and loved, for he had saved their lives long ago. They approached him, examined his body completely, and to their misfortune, he no longer had any pulse. They turned him over, leaving him face up, trails of blood running down his cheeks. It was time for the truth, the worst possible moment to discover his greatest desire to see the face of his hero. GIRLS, stay away from him. The trio of boys shouted fearfully, trying to reach the Kacha sisters, but it was too late. There was no more time. They had failed him. It was all over. The girls began to pull the hoods off their faces. It was horrible. The three of them screamed with all their might, filled with pain, sadness, and above all, disappointment. Their tears streamed down like the drops of that intense rain. Their hero, the boy they loved so much, was the brother they loved so much, Tanjiro Kacho. The teenagers wept against his chest, completely devastated by the horrible revelation, regretting not having listened to their friends because they had now discovered the truth. Come here, you bastard. The demon stretched out his arm, ready to finish the job, but the sisters, without any fear, stood ready to receive the blow before it reached him. They closed their eyes. It was better for the four of them to reunite in the other world. Their eyes snapped open, tears began to flow again, for before their very eyes rose the scarlet-eyed boy, shattering the demon's arm. She gripped her sword tightly as she looked at them, possibly with the most beautiful smile in the world. Why did the Kacho sisters fall in love with the demon? Slayer, why do the Kacho sisters love their brother Tanjiro so much? And how will this affect their relationship? All those questions will be answered in the following chapters. End. The Past of the Kacho Family Part 1, The Farewell. N/A. The story takes place in this year. January 12, 2007. Come here, my little Tanjiro. This was the Kacho family home, the largest pharmaceutical company in all of Japan. At that moment, they were playing with their 4 children, Kani the eldest, Shinobu the middle child, Tanjiro the only boy, and Kanao the youngest. One might say they were the typical happy family, but that would soon come to an end. Darling, could you come quickly, please? With no other option, the man who could be described as having scarlet eyes took his young children with him into his house. What's wrong, honey? Today I was called to a clinic where a patient had arrived unconscious, exhibiting some very unusual symptoms, the woman said. She could be described as very beautiful with large eyes, and she had a strange habit of wearing butterfly-shaped brooches in different shades. Tell me which ones they are. The married couple took their seats in the large armchair they owned. It would be a very long conversation. Tanjiro, take care of your sisters, his mother told him. The boy nodded and then went off to play with his sisters. It turned out the patient had very large fangs. His eyes held tremendous anger and were shaped like those of felines. His nails had grown so long they resembled claws, and most disturbingly, his body had been previously exposed to the sun and showed severe burns, the woman said, gripping her husband's hand tightly. Well, we're pharmacists, not doctors, but I'd say they'd think it's a cancer with a very unusual mutation. He began to analyze what his wife was telling him. Then what happened? What? He woke up and attacked one of the doctors who were treating him. Tears began to well up in the eyes of that beautiful woman. She felt the warmth of her husband's body as he embraced her, and this gradually calmed her down. Love, continue, the red-eyed man encouraged her. The doctor, after that patient's attack, began to show the same symptoms as him. A lump formed in the woman's throat at the horrible event that had followed. What happened to them? They ended up killing them, his wife said. Do you think it's that? The man feared the worst. Most likely it is. A great sigh could be heard from him. The past had caught up with them, ready to collect its debts. Father, why do we have to go to this school? Asked a small girl with fuchsia eyes. Well, Mom and Dad are going on a very important trip and won't be with you for a while, replied the red-eyed man. He felt a huge lump in his throat, but he had to concentrate. He was driving the car. I don't want them to leave us alone, said a little girl with purple eyes, her eyes filled with sadness. Nothing will happen to you, my little Shinobu. You'll have plenty of friends to play with here and people who will pay close attention to you, said the woman, her eyes a mix of different shades of blue, trying to calm her daughter. And when are you coming back? Why aren't you taking us with you? Kanao said, fighting back tears. We're here, said the man with red eyes, getting out of the car. Go ahead with the children, I'll get the suitcases. What is this place? A small boy with red eyes asked as he looked at the enormous building they were heading towards. Well, you'll have to stay here with Aunt Kai and her cousin Nezuko. Hello, a woman with black hair and bright pink eyes came out to greet them, sounding rather animated. While the 3 adults were conversing, a small girl with pink eyes and long black hair that faded to vermilion approached the small quartet. Hello, the girl greeted with great care, but none of the 3 girls took the initiative to respond except for the dark-haired boy. Hello, Nezuko, the boy replied, sounding a little sad. What do you think about the 5 of us playing? She maintained that positive attitude, wanting to transmit it to those 4 children. My sisters don't want to go, the little boy with red eyes said sadly. Don't be like that, said the pink-eyed girl. You can tell me whatever you want, but this is very important, the scarlet-eyed man said with a serious expression. He was having an argument with his sister. More important than taking care of your children. Don't come out with nonsense, replied the woman with bright pink eyes. Please just take care of them for a while. I give you my word that we'll stay in touch. I don't intend to neglect my children. The pink-eyed woman sighed. She had no choice but to believe her sister-in-law's words. Okay. I owe you, smiled the woman with the butterfly brooch in her hair as she held his hands. Just tell that idiot not to neglect his children and that's all. Look, these are the butterflies. The girl with vermilion-tipped hair showed her biology book to those winged insects that had captivated the hearts of the 3 little Kacha sisters. They are very beautiful, Kani replied, imagining the monarch butterfly in different shades. Have you seen one around here? Shinobu asked, now filled with curiosity about the insect. No, Nezuko replied. That's too bad, I'd like to see a real one, Kanao said, sounding a little disappointed. Well, you never know, maybe one will turn up here, Nezuko smiled, finally conveying her joy to the trio of sisters. All of this was observed by Tanjiro, who was standing a little apart from them. Apparently, he was watching over them because his subconscious was ordering him to do so. Flashback. Kanao, leave me alone. The little black-haired boy was running hurriedly from a trio of girls. They had with them a large amount of paint and some girls' clothing. Aka-san. The child cried, searching for his father. Tanjiro, what's wrong? His father, seeing his son's condition, didn't hesitate to pick him up and hold him in his arms. "What's the matter?" "They want to hurt me again," the boy cried in his father's arms. "It's nothing bad, your sisters just want to play with you," smiled the man with ruby eyes. "But I don't like it," said the sad boy whose eyes were exactly like his father's. "I understand, but you shouldn't be like that with them, they love you very much." "But Atu-san, everything they do bores me. I don't have a brother I can play the games I like with," Tanjiro said in the same mood. "How about I show you something? I think you'll really like it," smiled the man who took the boy to his desk. "Do you see this?" The man had sat down in front of his computer. On the screen one could see the image of a great gentleman. "What is that?" the boy said in amazement, his eyes sparkling. "These are very brave, very strong, and above all, very respectful men. He is a gentleman." "Oh, incredible," the boy shouted excitedly. "And do you know what their main objective is?" the man asked with a smile. "What? They take care of the princesses," the man said, stroking his head. "That's how you are, my little Tanjiro. You will be a great and strong knight whose goal will be to protect his princesses, your sisters." The child looked into his father's eyes, showing a great degree of confusion. "The day I'm gone, you'll have to take on that great responsibility because I believe in you. I have complete faith that you'll be the best brother your sisters could ever have, so do you promise me you'll be a gentleman to them?" the man said gently, making a fist with his hands. The boy's psyche had changed instantly. He had engraved his father's promise deep within his heart. He thought about it for a moment, but then sealed the pact by bumping his small fist against his father's. "You are my greatest pride." End of flashback. "Children, come here with Dad and Mom," the two adults spoke, their voices completely breaking. The four children approached, raising their eyes to their parents who gave them a big, warm hug. The woman with pink eyes shed a few tears at the scene as she hugged her little daughter. "I promise you will be together again soon," the red-eyed man said warmly. The trio of sisters just kept their eyes downcast as tears streamed down their faces, but the red-eyed boy kept his tears at bay. "Your aunt loves you very much. She'll give you the love we temporarily can't give you," the scarlet-eyed man said sadly. "Sweetheart, it's time to go. Mama will always carry you in her heart." The woman with the butterfly brooch shouted through tears as she slowly walked away. The quartet, who were already with the pink-eyed girl and her mother, watched as they arrived at the door. But Tanjiro ran after them. "Tanjiro!" shouted the pink-eyed woman who was still crying. The boy went up to his father and gave him a light tap on the leg. "Tanjiro, please go with your..." The scarlet-eyed boy raised his left arm, making a fist with his small hand. This changed the man's sad expression, causing a small smile to appear on his face. A gentleman keeps his promises. The crimson-eyed man bumped fists with his son, let out a big sigh but showed great happiness and without looking back closed the door. The Past of the Kacho Family Part 2, Shinobu x Tanjiro. August 17, 2017. From Tanjiro's point of view. "I don't want to go to school. I never liked school, but unfortunately it's my obligation to go." I rolled over from my bed and fell abruptly to the floor, looking at what was underneath, clothes and some things I didn't remember having. That sound was from the front door of the house they had already left. I finally got up from the floor. It was time for the day to begin, so the first thing I did was take off my pajamas and put on my school uniform, which I had lying on top of what looked like my stereo equipment and the tie. Now it's time for breakfast, I guess. I was in the kitchen eating a bowl of my favorite cereal, Corn Flakes Extra. The bad thing is that there wasn't much milk and I wouldn't have time to go buy some at the supermarket. I'd be late. I brushed my teeth carefully so as not to damage my braces. There was only a year left and I could get them off, which cheered me up a little. I closed the front door. It was already late and I couldn't take the car because my older sister's boyfriend had taken it, so I would have to walk. Come on, otherwise the biology teacher will end up kicking me out of class. I ran as fast as I could. I was still 20 blocks from school and only 3 minutes until the bell rang. The teacher will surely punish me even more. I arrived. I was completely exhausted and sweaty. My body felt like jelly and my heart felt like it wanted to jump out of my chest. I feel terrible. I walked shakily to my classroom. Unfortunately, first period was biology class and the door was already closed. Yes, the teacher had expelled me. I was starving, so I went to the cafeteria. I was lucky because they had hamburgers today. I went to one of the free tables and sat down. I was so excited to have that delicious-looking hamburger between my teeth and throat. I savored every ingredient. It was delicious. That does look like a nice-ass face. Shinobu is still in class. Hisashi, I spoke in my characteristic timid voice. I didn't come for her, I came to see my other girlfriend. He was Hisashi, the best swordsman and judo master in the entire school. Please stop cheating on my sister. I couldn't finish my sentence because he had grabbed me by the neck, strangling me slightly in the process. I already told you you'd better keep quiet, Cacho, because if you do what would you think if I took your sister's virginity away from her? After all, I treat her like my dogs. I saw that disgustingly malicious smile. I was so angry my blood was boiling and I wanted to punch him in the face. Fine, I'll keep quiet, but don't do that to my sister. I gave in. I knew very well that I was outmatched, but I didn't want to risk him doing such a cruel thing to her. It's been a while since I've had hex. That big ass your sister has. Believe me, I'm already getting horny. That bitch is really, really hot. I endured the pain from the rough handling he had given me. Give me back my glasses. My eyesight was never the best. I started wearing glasses back in 3rd grade, and over the years it only got worse. You want them, then go get them. The lunch bell had rung, and little by little the cafeteria filled with people, among whom Hasashi's friends stood out. They helped the red-eyed boy reach his optical object by pushing and shoving. He had put them on, but unfortunately for him, a beautiful young woman with black hair with purple streaks and beautiful eyes of the same color watched the scene in which her brother was the protagonist, looking ashamed. Hi, my love, the blonde-haired boy smiled, giving Sister Cacho a kiss on the lips. Could you tell your brother to stop bothering her? The scarlet-eyed boy quickly put on his glasses and, despite the other boys seeing him, ran away crying. This is incredible, exclaimed the red-eyed teenager perched atop a tree at school, reading his favorite comic, The Crimson Hunter. I had left school completely. Today was just as awful. I wanted a moment to rest from all of that. From here I had heard the school bell and everyone was starting to leave to head home. Hisashi's words came back to me and my fear for my sister returned when I saw her so happy holding that wretch's hand. They hadn't headed towards the car, but instead had gone to the janitorial storage room behind the school. All of this was giving me a very bad feeling. I put my comic book in my backpack to try to climb down the tree, and I say try because I ended up falling on my right arm. Luckily, I'm left-handed. I quickly headed towards the janitorial storage room, and when I arrived, I noticed that the door was locked. I heard loud murmurs. Anxiety consumed me and made me imagine the worst. Think. A window. Luckily for me, there was a window, but it was almost touching the ceiling. There was no way I could reach it. Hisashi, please let me go. I don't want to do this. I felt my heart stop. My fear had come true. You're a bucking loser. Just look at yourself. You're disgusting. Why don't you just die already? You'd be doing society a favor. Tanjiro, stop doing that. You're embarrassing us. That's why your parents abandoned you. They finally realized what kind of thing they had for a son. If they were all right, what Hisashi, my sisters, and everyone else said about me is true. I'm a loser, a weakling, and a crybaby who can't do anything without things going wrong. I feel that helplessness of not being able to do anything because everyone else just tramples on me and humiliates me. That's me, Tanjiro Cacho. Please stop. I snapped out of my thoughts. I could hear my sister screaming, but what could I do? Someone who's lacking in every way. I'm not a hero like in the comics I read. I don't have any strength or superpowers to save anyone. I'm just a normal guy who couldn't protect his sister's dignity. A hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure despite obstacles. Christopher Reeve. Heroes aren't always the ones who win. Sometimes they're the ones who lose, but they keep fighting and they keep enduring. They don't give up. That's what makes them heroes. Cassandra Clare. The true hero is always a hero by mistake, a coward driven by the desires of his heart. H1BRT Eco. I don't need a sword, I only need my will and determination, which, unlike a sword, will never break. The Crimson Hunter. I'm not a hero, but I will be one for you, sister. The red-eyed boy gritted his teeth and with great momentum climbed to the window, punched the glass hard and shattered it in the process. He didn't care about getting the shard stuck in his hands because the adrenaline he felt prevented him from feeling pain. And if his sister lay on a table with much of her shirt torn, tears running down her cheeks and through those beautiful eyes, this had enraged the dark-haired man. Who told you to come in, you damn cambuet? The blonde was surprised by a powerful blow from Tanjiro, leaving him stunned and at his mercy. I was always your pet. You took advantage of me because I'm weak. You did whatever you wanted to me. You humiliated and mistreated me. I can forgive you for that, but what you were going to do to my sister, I will never forgive you, you son of a bitch. His eyes burned like fire itself. The sleeping hero within him had awakened. Again, the red-eyed man clenched his left fist tightly. He paused to look at his sister, who gazed at him with deep regret and sadness in her heart. He didn't care how she had treated him before. He loved her with all his heart. You damned son of a... Hisashi's defeat was sealed by the tremendous blow he received from Tanjiro. His power was so great that it slammed him into the pile of brooms and mops. I don't think those are enough to clean up that much shit, Tanjiro said, brother. The beautiful purple-eyed woman lay on the ground trying to cover her exposed body. The red-eyed man took his shirt and jacket and covered her with them. It's all right now. She burst into tears again and impulsively hugged him. He didn't resist the first show of affection he received from her. Forgive me for treating you like this all this time, I'm a M. SHHH, I don't want you to stain your beautiful lips. She had put her finger to her lips. She felt very strange because she felt her cheeks burning. Was that normal? From now on, no matter what happens to me, your brother will always protect you. He had placed a kiss on her forehead, making her feel even stranger as her heart began to beat very fast. She placed one of her hands on his face. He took off his glasses. He no longer needed them because he had understood that they represented his past, the one he had turned a blind eye to all this time. Shinobu hadn't noticed those beautiful scarlet eyes her brother possessed. They were like the brightness of the sun. It was the last straw. A forbidden feeling had been born within her. She had fallen in love with her brother. Let's go home. Tomorrow I'll tell the headmistress all about this so she can expel that bastard. Yes, Onias and his beautiful sister spoke sweetly. She was blushing deeply because she had kissed him on the cheek, very close to his lips. He was very confused, but that didn't stop his sister from happily leading him by the hand. Her blush deepened as she took in her brother's slender, muscular torso. She'd barely noticed. The Past of the Kacho Family Part 3, Kani x Tanjiro. From Tanjiro's point of view. This is very strange. I was in the bathroom, looking at myself in the mirror, very scared. I didn't recognize myself. I didn't look like myself. My once insecure and fearful eyes had transformed into eyes of confidence and courage. My face no longer resembled that of a child, but rather that of a serious teenager. Besides, I no longer needed my glasses. I could see perfectly well without them. What could be happening to me? It's good you're out of the bathroom, Oniasan the purple-eyed girl smiled. I need to brush my teeth. This happens, the red-eyed man spoke nervously. We'll continue working on your shyness around girls, Shinobu said, closing the bathroom door. Today was a pleasant Tuesday, the air was refreshing and the sun very inviting, but not to spend it in 8 hours inside an academic establishment. At least they expelled that idiot, said Tanjiro, who was sitting on the floor waiting for his sister to come out. A week had passed since the Shinobu incident, and since then she had been getting closer to Tanjiro, reforging and strengthening their sibling bond. Okay, I just need to get my backpack. Shinobu was well known at school for her great beauty and intelligence. Her gifted mind allowed her to achieve top rankings in exams and subjects. She was very popular with the boys, but they didn't know that her heart belonged to her brother. Come on, Oniasan, you're so slow, Sister Kacho said sweetly, holding her brother's hand. He was a little nervous, and they were walking together towards school. The day after what happened with his sister, he went to the headmistress to tell her what had occurred. She took action and ended up expelling Hisashi. This act had gained him a little popularity, as a rumor had spread that he had left Hisashi disabled. Are Kani and Kano busy today too? Yes, Kani has cheerleading practice today, and Kano apparently told me she has a piano recital in a few days and needs to practice, the dark-haired girl replied, a little worried by her brother's gloomy attitude. Hey, Oniasan, how about you join the school baseball team? Shinobu asked, encouraging Tanjiro. Hey, there are openings. But why would I do that? I have to go to the fencing classes you enrolled me in, the dark-haired man said negatively. Come on, Oniasan, it's very obvious that you miss Kani, and if you're in the same place as her, you might find an opening to reconcile, Shinobu smiled. Well, I'm not so sure, I'm not very much to their liking. Don't be so pessimistic, you're the kindest and most wonderful person I know. Besides, I've already signed you up with the coach, so you have no choice, her sister said authoritatively. Don't worry, Oni-san, your sister will help you. I'll clear my schedule and I'll see you in the countryside after classes. But the scarlet-eyed teenager stammered, but stopped after hearing his older sister's words. I trust you, that you will reunite the three of us, the beautiful sister Kacho smiled one last time before her brother's hands grasped her shoulders. You're right, I'm sorry for that unpleasant and pessimistic attitude. You are the most important thing I have, and I don't want you to drift further away. I was always your biggest embarrassment, but now I want you to be proud of me. I'll improve myself and become the man you deserve. Tanjiro shouted, filled with motivation. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. It's just that this sweatshirt is making me really hot, the purple-eyed girl stammered, her blush rising at his words and smile, something she appreciated since he was so oblivious. Okay, Nissan, we only have about 2 more blocks and we'll be there. Ara, since when do you exercise, Oni-san? The teenager with purple streaks in her hair spoke flirtatiously upon seeing her brother's toned abs. Shinobu, please leave the locker room, replied the teenager with the red-tipped hair, somewhat embarrassed that his sister had interfered, but the other boys didn't disagree, seeing such a beauty sitting on the bench in front of the lockers. What's wrong with that? I'm spending quality time with my brother. the young woman pouted, wearing the butterfly brooch that melted the hearts of everyone present except Tanjiro. Okay, since you're near my locker, pass me my sweater, the red-eyed boy said. I can't believe you made it into the qualifiers, Shinobu said, closing the locker behind her and handing the garment to her brother. You didn't think I'd come in? No, of course not. It's just surprising that you have excellent physical and athletic condition. You humiliated all the other applicants, her sister replied. Even I don't believe it. Well, 7 is my favorite number. You'll do great, Oniasan, the purple-eyed girl said, placing the helmet on him. I'll be cheering you on from the stands. Her brother looked very handsome in his uniform, making her sigh. The same uniform to give you an idea of what Tanjiro looks like. Well, Nisan, thank you. The boy with the scar on his forehead looked to the side. His sister had a replica of his sweater and cap, which made her look very attractive and beautiful in the eyes of others. Same outfit to get an idea of what Shinobu looks like. Show them what you're capable of, Nisan. Good evening to everyone present, ready for another game of the summer season. This is Harugo Kiaju, as always, ready to narrate in detail here at Ujium Stadium, and in your homes your favorite sport, the king of all sports, baseball. At home we have the Pillars roster with a new face that promises a lot. The Pillars, the roster was made up of the 9 strongest hitters in the entire Kyoto school, in which the young red-eyed boy had achieved the number 2 spot. That was excellent, Kani-san, spoke a young woman with green eyes, beneath which lay a small mole. Thank you, Mitsuru-san, the beautiful cheerleader, smiled sweetly at her best friend. The uniform, excluding the cap and gauntlet, to give you an idea of what Kani and Mitsuru look like. They blushed as the players entered the big diamond, but the teenager Kacha was struck by a young man with a very piercing scarlet gaze. What's wrong, Kani-san? Are you seeing Shinazugawa-san again? The pink-haired girl asked, making the black-haired girl nervous. Everyone knows that Shinazugawa-san likes you. Go ahead and make a move on him, added the beautiful green-eyed girl. I already told you I'm not interested in any boys, the fuchsia-eyed girl replied coldly. Are you still hurting over your first love? Kenroji said with a hint of sadness. She had touched on a very sensitive subject for Kacho. I felt very comfortable with him, we always did everything together, but he changed suddenly and now I absolutely hate looking him in the eye, Kani said, annoyed. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Yes, I'm sorry I brought it up. The game had already begun. Half the spectators were watching the game, and the other half were watching the sensual movements of the cheerleading squad, especially that of the beautiful teenager with long black hair fading to fuchsia. What a difficult situation the Pillars are in. They are at an extreme disadvantage. Obanai, Tomioka, and Shinazugawa are trapped on the bases like birds in cages. All the outfielders are ready for the next batter, number 7, Kacho Tanjiro. The beautiful young woman with long black hair and fuchsia eyes was bewildered. Had she just heard her brother's name? And indeed, that young man with ruby-colored eyes had stood up and prepared himself over the plate, ready to bat. Apparently, the young man who recently joined the roster turns out to be the ace up the Pillar's sleeve. A left-handed batter will be enough to stop the powerful pitcher of the Britannian Capitals. Come on, Nay-san, you can do it, shouted the beautiful teenager with faded purple streaks from the stands, waving her large pom-poms euphorically. Focus and breathe. The tension was palpable, and everything depended on the teenager with black hair fading to red, who raised and gripped his bat tightly. This home run is dedicated to you, Kani Kacho, Tanjiro shouted at the top of his lungs. The ball has shot out much faster than a bullet, it has more than enough power and is approaching Kacho menacingly. This is a grand slam. YSSSSSS, damn it. What a shot, what power, an unreachable ball and a victory for the Pillars. The dark-haired boy removed his helmet, proudly revealing his face to his older sister, who looked on in amazement at her younger brother's achievement. You did it, Ning-san, Shinobu shouted as she rushed to Tanjiro, giving him a big hug. Wasn't that your brother, the one they considered a loser? Mitsuri said incredulously. Since when did he become so cool? Now that I see him, he's very handsome. I don't know, and stop saying that, the eldest Kacho said nervously, blushing slightly. The crowd cheered Kacho's move, but he didn't care at all. He finished hugging his sister and pushing his way through the crowd went after his other sister. Grower. A strange, demonic-looking creature had burst into the field. This instantly changed the cheerful atmosphere to one of absolute fear as he began murdering people. Kocho kill. People fled as far as their feet could carry them. The field began to fill with blood and with people lying on the ground who had lost their lives at the hands of that demon. Shinobu, get out of here quickly, I have to go after Kanae. But Nae-san, the girl said sadly, not wanting to leave her brother alone with that thing. I want to be the brother I never was, I will protect you no matter what, so go away. Her brother's words had touched her heart, she had to trust him. She knew he was a man of his word and that he would save her sister and bring her back. Cho. Kanny, along with Mitsuri and the other girls, ran as fast as they could from the demon, but he soon caught up with them and killed one of them. Ko. Here I am, the teenager with his balls firmly in place lunged at the demon and striking him hard on the head with the metal bats he had brought managed to disorient him. Get out of here. The teenager shouted, buying time for them all to leave. Tanjiro, his sister, spoke in surprise. She hadn't known this side of him, so heroic and brave. She had begun to develop feelings for him. Kanny, take your friends away quickly. I don't know how much longer I can stand this thing, it's repulsive. But Yu, she was worried sick about her brother, she didn't want to leave him alone. Like I told Shinobu, I'll be fine, I promise. Just make sure you call the police, the military, the fire department, or that guy who gets mad when people step on his lawn. They'll definitely take care of this thing. The red-eyed man smiled. That smile, that beautiful smile of hers had made him fall in love all over again. Kanny's gone now, it was just a matter of seeing how I got out of this thing in one piece. For some strange reason I felt very odd, my body felt like it was burning, and now that I think about it, it all started when I saved my sister Shinobu. I had abruptly changed from what I was before, becoming the complete opposite. Kucho. There was no way to escape, there was only one option and that was to fight. I gripped the bats tightly, feeling like I was breathing fire. I felt powerful. Come on in, come here. The appearance of his forehead scar had changed, and a fire-shaped mark had appeared. Those bats had been incinerated, and with them the scarleted youth managed to blow the demon's head off. What the boy said, shuddering, seeing what he had done. I have to get out of here quickly. Then you'll be staying at AI's house, okay? Don't hesitate to call me if you need anything. The eldest Kacho sister ended the call. Is everything alright with Kanao Nisan? Shinobu asked, hugging her brother's left arm. Yes, she's staying at a sleepover with AI. She said AI will help her with her recital next week, Kanny replied, throwing her phone down on the carpet and then hugging her brother's right arm. What do you think about switching to something else? Tanjiro said nervously, feeling his sister's breast in his arms. They were watching a romantic movie, but he changed the channel because of some rather adult scenes. It's still unknown what this really is, we can only guess if there's more. The three of them watched the news report about what had happened at the school. Kanny was happily with her brother and sister, especially since she had fallen in love with her first love again. But that will be told in another story. The Past of the Kacho Family Part 4, Kano x Tanjiro. NA, for convenience, this is how the Kacho sisters referred to Tanjiro. Kanny no-san. Shinobu Oni-san. Kano no-chans. September 1, 2017. So Kano will stay at AI's until this afternoon. Asked the dark-haired man wearing an apron as he served 2 cups of coffee with milk to 2 beautiful dark-haired women. That's right, Ne-san. Kano's piano recital is tomorrow night, replied the beautiful Kanny while eating some cookies from a plate. Excuse me, I'm still learning to cook, the dark-haired man said apologetically, placing another plate of cookies for his other sister. What are you saying? Oni-san, these cookies are delicious. Shinobu exclaimed excitedly as she tasted the cookies. It was a great idea to enroll Ne-san in cooking classes, Kanny smiled. That's right, Shinobu replied, giving her older sister a high five. He hasn't even been here 4 days and he cooks like a professional chef. The best investment of your life. The 2 butterfly sisters were happily playing with their hands. This childish action of his sisters couldn't stop Tanjiro from smiling. I'll save some cookies for Kano then. The situation among the remaining Kacho family had improved. 3 years ago, they had left their Aunt Kai at the boarding school where she was the assistant principal, following the instructions in their parents' will, which specified that any of their children could claim their assets and possessions from the age of 12. They returned to their old home ready to study for high school. Things had improved a lot for the Kacho quartet. Tanjiro had reconciled with his sisters Kanny and Shinobu, only Kano remaining. Thanks to their help, he began to change, leaving behind his insecurities and former mediocre personality. In their words, he was on the path to becoming the perfect man. I still haven't gotten used to not having my braces, Tanjiro said, being held by the arms of his older sisters. Thinking he was a copper battery, he turned out to be a gold mine. They discovered their brother's great potential, as he proved to be very handsome in the girls' eyes, obviously getting rid of the imperfections of his former appearance and personality. Now he was a young man with fine, serious scarlet eyes capable of striking any girl with his gaze. His perfect face without any flaws other than that hexy scar on the right side of his forehead and his long, silky hair. Accompanied by a stoic, noble, and loving personality, all of this was a delight to his sisters and any girl who saw him. All that could be said was that when the Kachos passed by, everyone else was perplexed and couldn't take their eyes off them. Do you think it would be a good idea to visit Kano during her practice with AI? The dark-haired man asked, a little apprehensive. Don't worry, Nissan, in the end the three of us will end up united because of you, Kani said. One advantage and disadvantage the sisters had over their brother was his enormous absent-mindedness. Don't you think we should have brought the car? Brother Kacho asked. Of course not, you're still too young to be driving. Besides, it's a lovely day to go for a walk and enjoy this nice cool weather, Shinobu replied, silencing her younger brother. We're almost there. The three of them quickened their pace, arriving at a large house painted sky blue. The teenager with eggplant-colored hair rang the doorbell, and a pretty girl with sapphire eyes and charcoal-colored hair tied in two pigtails came out to greet them. Hello, Kani-san, Shinobu-san, have you come to see Kano? Asked the blue-eyed teenager. That's right, may we pass? Asked the two butterfly sisters. Come in, Kano is in the room next to mine, AI said, inviting them into her house. Thank you, said the futseed and purple-eyed girl. Wait, AI said, stopping the red-eyed boy who looked nervous. Who are you? Are you the boyfriend of one of these two? She asked. AI, he's our brother Tanjiro, there's no need to get upset, said the Kacha sisters. The crybaby loser. The young Kanzaki said incredulously, surprised by the drastic change he had undergone. Please don't call him that, he's not the same person anymore. Can you please let him through? The Kacho duo asked. Yes, come in, Tanjiro, AI replied nervously. The trio of siblings left the blue-eyed girl downstairs and went to the room where their younger sister was. Kano, can we come in? The sisters asked after knocking on the door. The door opened and the trio stepped inside. Look, Kano, Tanjiro made you some cookies, but what's going on? The trio watched their younger sister with concern. She looked haggard from exhaustion and nerves. Wow, this looks really bad, Shinobu said. I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not. The lily-seed girl screamed, clutching her hair. Come on, calm down, Kani said, removing her hands and then calming her down. I don't think you'd get that nervous over just one recital, said Shinobu, who had sat down with her two sisters on the bedroom rug. Hiroyuki Sawano and Hans Florian Zimmer will be performing at that concert. The dark-haired girl shouted nervously, shocking her three brothers. That, yes, some of my classmates recorded and uploaded my piano practice to YouTube, the lily-seed girl replied, covering her eyes. You mean the video became so popular that it even reached the eyes and ears of two music giants? Asked the futseed woman incredulously. The third sister, Kacho, nodded her head. And why didn't you tell us? The purple-eyed girl asked, worried by what was happening to her sister. I was planning to tell you tonight, but my friends got nervous about what happened and won't help me with this anymore. I'm so scared. I don't want to be a huge embarrassment and humiliation in front of everyone, especially you. A small tear escaped from her large, beautiful lilac eyes, which the red-eyed man who had been talking the entire conversation noticed. He knew what shame and humiliation were. He had carried it for many years. He didn't care about the contempt he received for it, but he wouldn't let his younger sister's beautiful smile disappear when he could do something. Kano, don't worry, the three of us will help you, the dark-haired man smiled as he crouched down and lifted his sister's depressed face. What do you think, Kani? Shinobu? Of course we'll help you, we won't leave you alone in this, she replied with the same enthusiasm as her younger brother, Kani. Yes, here if one of the Kacho sinks. The other three Kacho sink too, Shinobu chimed in as well. The four of us are family, the Kacho team. Tanjiro extended his hand, giving his sisters a determined look. Kani joined in and placed her hand on top of Tanjiro's, followed by Shinobu and finally Kano, looking at her older brother with hopeful eyes. September 2, 2017. Night had fallen on the city of Kyoto. There was a lot of activity at the Grand Minimiza Theater, many cars, many people, and many lights. Tonight was a very important night. Inside, behind that great scarlet curtain which separated them from a huge audience, were an idea of what the four of them looked like. Tanjiro, Kani, Shinobu, Kano, the three girls looked nervous while the boy remained calm. Kano's hands were trembling and she was breathing heavily. No, I can't, I'm so scared, we better leave. I don't care if people make fun of me, I don't care, honestly, I can't do it. Get ready, it starts in 20 minutes, one of the attendees spoke to the Kacho quartet. Yes, Shinobu replied and again focused on her younger sister. Come on, Kano, this is a great opportunity to show what you're capable of. Kani tried to cheer up her sister, but she just kept covering her ears. Tanjiro and Shinobu watched her, sighing for their younger sister. They, like her, were nervous, but they had put aside that negative state for her. Kanao. The beautiful girl with lilac eyes hurriedly escaped their sight. They felt very sad for their sister. One of her greatest dreams would be shattered by fear. I knew this was a bad idea, Shinobu said, looking down. Let's go home, Kani said in the same tone. No, I don't intend to abandon Kano so close to her dream, and I don't want you to think negatively about it. Either of you Shinobu, Kanny has a great dream and you're so close to achieving it. I'll personally make sure things turn out that way. I'll support and help you because you are my greatest conviction and I want those beautiful smiles you three wear to never disappear. With these words, the dark-haired man finished, then went after his sister. Can I sit down? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. The lily-eyed teenager was sitting behind the theater, leaning against a pile of empty boxes. The red-eyed teenager joined her, sitting down next to her. I think you know very well that I know in detail what shame and humiliation are, he said. The way people look at you, belittle you, and avoid you, it gets to the point where you can't take it anymore and you'd rather disappear quickly. You want to stop living that miserable life. He listened to his sister's sobs, breathed calmly, and continued with his story. Let me tell you, that's an ideology of cowards, an ideology of weak people that quickly crumbles. Tanjiro raised his hand and began to stroke her silky hair. We are often afraid of what we might not be able to do, afraid of what others might think if we try. We let our fears overwhelm our hopes. We say no when we want to say yes. We stay silent when we want to shout, and we shout with everyone when we should keep quiet. Why, after all, we only live once. There's no time to be afraid, so enough is enough. Do something you've never done before, dare to try. Forget that everyone's watching. Attempt the impossible, take the risk. Don't worry about being accepted. Don't settle for being just another face in the crowd. No one is holding you back. No one is forcing you. Be yourself. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. We often believe in fate. We pray, we wait for things to happen, and we forget the most important thing, to believe in ourselves. We settle instead of taking risks, forgetting that each passing day will never return. Nothing is written in stone, nothing is set in stone, not even the impossible. Everything depends on our will, on that inner strength, on saying yes I can to every challenge. We have the power when we are determined, when we are convinced. When we truly want something, no obstacle can stand in our way. If we want it, we can reach great heights, do anything. We just have to set our minds to it. If you dream of being the best in the world, if you dream of applause, if you dream of winning championships, wake up. Inside you are 206 bones and over 700 muscles waiting. All that's missing is your decision, your desire to play like never before. Face your destiny, don't just be a spectator. Ask for the ball and believe you own it, demand more and more from yourself. Run a little farther each day, jump a little higher each day. Become your own idol, join the team in turning the score around. When you expect nothing from others, when you feel that every moment depends on you, your spirit will grow stronger. And little by little, the voices will turn into applause. Your breaths will be filled with achievements and your life with meaning. There are those who always wear the same clothes. There are those who carry amulets, those who make promises, those who implore looking to the sky, those who believe in superstitions. And there are those who keep running when their legs tremble, those who keep playing when they run out of breath, those who keep fighting when all seems lost, as if each time were their last, convinced that life itself is a challenge. They suffer but they don't complain because they know that pain passes, sweat dries, and exhaustion ends. But there is something that will never disappear, the satisfaction of having achieved it. The same blood runs through their veins. What sets them apart is their spirit, their unwavering determination to reach the top. A summit reached not by surpassing others, but by surpassing oneself. The world belongs to those who have the courage to dream and the audacity to live their dreams. All it takes is to surpass oneself. Art Williams. Nei-Chan, the beautiful black-haired girl with lilac tips, raised her eyes to her brother. Those words, those beautiful words he had said to her, had bound her heart to his, along with that beautiful smile of his. Her heart was pounding wildly, her cheeks burning. Had he made her feel this way? Come on, Kanny, Shinobu, and I believe in you, never forget that. Like a true gentleman, he offered her his hand, and she, moved by his words, accepted it. She no longer cared if others mocked her. She knew he would always be there for her. And the two of them together returned to the theater. I'm ready, Kano said, standing in front of an electronic keyboard with a microphone beside her. Me too, replied Kanny, who was holding a bass guitar. Likewise, Shinobu said, holding an electric guitar. Let's give it our all, live or die trying. Tanjiro said cheerfully from behind the drum kit, 3, 2, 1. The large curtain was opened, a massive crowd watched them, and Kano could only sigh. This is one that everyone knows, I said, and began to play the piano. Obviously, I recommend that you listen to it. Your cookies are wonderful, Nei-chan. Kano smiled, the beautiful girl, as she tasted the exquisite flavor of the dessert her brother had made. We told you so. Kanny and Shinobu bumped fists, causing Tanjiro to smile. The four of them were in their enormous room. Tanjiro, Shinobu, and Kanny were all sitting on Kano's grand piano, while she was just wiping her hands with a napkin, ready to start playing the instrument. I still can't believe you refused to go with Mr. Zimmer and Mr. Sawano, Shinobu said, recalling the event that had happened days before. Flashback. That enormous crowd erupted in euphoric shouts, cheers and applause dedicated to the talented Kano, who, along with her brothers, had delivered an unparalleled performance. Thank you so much. Kanao cried tears of joy. One of her dreams had come true. Now all that was left was to enjoy it. Kani, Shinobu, and Tanjiro could only smile contentedly at her happiness, but they didn't see the moment when she rushed towards them, giving them a big hug. I love them. That was incredible, amazing, and unparalleled, said the legendary music composer Hans Zimmer as he walked up with the brothers. He agreed, that was excellent, said another legendary music composer, Hiroyuki Sawano. Thank you very much. The Lilaseed girl smiled nervously at the presence of those two giants of music. Well, we'll be going now, Shinobu said with an apologetic smile. Hey, they're selling dangos outside, Kani said, drawing the attention of those Great, we should go buy some. Wouldn't you like some, my lords? Tanjiro asked the two great composers. Okay, why not? The two men said with great curiosity. Okay, we'll be back later. We'll bring you some Kanao. Those were her brother's last words before leaving with his sisters. What nice boys, the men said to each other before returning to Kana. Miss Kacho, isn't that right? Perfectly, Kanao replied. Well, Mr. Zimmer and I are looking for promising young talents like you. We saw your fascinating musical gift and mastery of the piano and couldn't refuse to witness it in person. To be frank, would you like to work with us? Your potential is enormous, and we'll make sure to increase it even further. The girl could only sigh and offer the men a sweet smile. I greatly appreciate your offer, but my main dream has already been fulfilled, that all the people in the world appreciate my music, so I'm very sorry, but I decline it, she replied calmly. It's because of them, isn't it? Mr. Zimmer asked. Yes, that's right, my family comes first. I don't want to be separated from my brother, and I want to continue living a peaceful life, Kana replied confidently. Okay, we understand, both men said, disappointed. Here are your dangos. The trio of dark-haired people had returned, and Kani and Shinobu politely handed the sweets to both gentlemen. Thank you very much, but we must leave. Incredible, my sister, don't you think? Tanjiro said, hugging Kanao, who couldn't help but blush at the gesture. That's right, but we should go. Both men said goodbye to the brothers, happily eating the sweets, and then the quartet decided to sit on the stage and enjoy the sweets themselves. End of flashback. That doesn't matter anymore, Kanao replied, looking at her two older sisters, and then all three of them looked at their beloved brother. This song is dedicated to you, Nia-chan, Kanao said, beginning to play. Obviously, I recommend that you listen to it. The Past of the Kacho Family Final, The Origin of the Demon Slayer. November 10, 2017. Nia-chan, please help me with these boxes. Of course, Kanao, I'm coming. The Kacho quartet was currently in the attic of their house. Following Kani's orders, Shinobu, Kanao, and Tanjiro were busy cleaning the enormous house where they lived. 3 days had already passed, and the four of them had been cleaning tirelessly. They were relieved that this was the only part left to do. Goodness, I'm so tired, the purple-eyed woman said, stretching her arms. You can say that again, replied the Lilaseed girl, wiping the dust from her hands. Guys, dinner's ready. His fuchsia-eyed sister's voice had been the center of his attention. It was around 8:30 at night, and the three of them were very tired. Why did we let Kani make dinner? I'm already used to Nia-chan's delicious cooking, Kanao protested, placing a coat rack next to an old guitar. Well, we have to remember that she started cleaning long before we did, so it was only fair that she relaxed a little by making dinner, I suppose, Shinobu replied to her younger sister. We should have ordered a pizza or something, I don't know, something that was already prepared, because I imagine Kani is even more tired from making dinner, Tanjiro said while rubbing a television screen with a cloth. That's a great idea, we'll call some fast food place, Kanao said, sighing with exhaustion. I see you're very tired, you'd better go downstairs, I'll finish cleaning up here, it's not much, said the red-eyed man. Are you sure, Oniasan? Asked the teenager with the purple butterfly brooch. Of course, I don't want my three little sisters to get hurt. I recommend that you go to sleep after dinner, replied the ruby-eyed teenager, wiping his hands and then stroking the heads of both girls. Well, Oni-san. Understood, Nia-chan. Both girls answered with flushed cheeks. The boy just smiled at them as he helped them down. Moments later, he went back to focusing on that task. Great, I just need to unpack these last few boxes, the dark-haired man said enthusiastically. He was already running late. He estimated it was around 11 at night. He had lied to his sisters, skipping dinner so he could finish this chore tonight. What is this? Because he was sleepy, the box he was carrying had fallen and therefore the contents had spilled out as well. His attention fell upon a briefcase with a small gold engraving that read Y Kacho. A great curiosity had been awakened in him for no reason, so after finishing cleaning up the mess he had made, he would dedicate himself to investigating what it meant. He was already in his room, and just in case he decided to lock the door. Okay, let's see what's in here, said the middle Kacho brother, starting to open the man's bag. It's a laptop, said the teenager with the scar, removing the electronic device and setting it aside. He then proceeded to check the various compartments of the small suitcase. After a thorough search, all I could find was a piece of paper covered in strange scribbles. For some reason, his heart was racing. It was as if he were scared, but scared of what or whom. Maybe it's just a hallucination from lack of sleep. He put those things back in the briefcase, but something startled him. When he wanted to see if there was anything hidden, thanks to the light of the spotlight, he was able to find what appeared to be some coordinates. "I'll see what this is tomorrow," said the red-eyed man, putting his things in his briefcase, then brushing his teeth and going to sleep. November 11, 2017. Nei-chan. Ayiyu oni-I-sans. What nei-sans. Okay, I'm coming. Get up, it's late, I'm coming. My watch read 9:30 in the morning. It was already very late, and the first thing I thought of was putting away that briefcase. I went down to the kitchen. My sisters were already waiting for me at the table with breakfast already served, so I took a seat. "You took a long time yesterday," Nei-chan Kanao said, taking a sip of her orange juice. "I dropped some, so I had to clean up again," Tanjiro replied, forcing a smile as he played with the food. "Is something wrong?" Kanny asked, making him startled. "It's nothing," the dark-haired man smiled again. "Well, tell us what it is then," Shinobu said, looking at him seriously. "I just feel a little unwell. Maybe it's because I finished so late last night. I think I'd better go to sleep," said the teenager with the scar, getting up from the table and heading upstairs to his room. "Do you need something?" said the three dark-haired girls who had quickly gotten up to see their brother. "Don't worry, I just ask that you don't bother me," sighed the teenager with red-tipped hair. "How about we go for ice cream later when I've recovered?" Tanjiro smiled. "Good. Okay, I know it's wrong to lie, but I couldn't help it. My curiosity is killing me," said teenager Kacho as he locked his bedroom door again. I pulled that old briefcase out from under his bed, then checked the computer and analyzed the paper. "It has some very strange ports," the red-eyed man said as he went to his desk carrying some USB drives. "None of them work. That computer was very peculiar. Well, at least this will turn on." She'd been lucky. One of the ports on her computer chargers had managed to fit. It started charging, though slowly. I can't expect much from something that's already very old. After a few minutes of setting up the device, he proceeded to check everything on it. Desktop, operating system, backups. There was nothing but a strange surname. It was Kamado. I stifled my scream so as not to attract my sister's attention. Buck, wait. He remembered that piece of paper full of scribbles, so now, doing the same thing as before, he held it up to the light and analyzed it. What does an old hospital have to do with all this? He wondered after deciphering the hidden information. I have to go there. The old reliable, he chuckled to himself after arranging some pillows to disguise his identity. I hope my sisters believe it, he added. He primarily stored that device along with the charging cable. For some reason, he had a feeling he would need it, and then he packed what he thought he would need in his backpack. He unlocked his bedroom window and left as quietly as possible. For some strange reason, despite jumping from a height of approximately 10 meters, his gait was unaffected. For several weeks now, she had noticed this sudden change in him. His increased physical abilities and significant personality shift had left her wondering why. Would today finally be the day it all became clear? She sighed and continued walking towards the destination indicated on the paper. I covered myself with the hood of my jacket. Even though it wasn't very cold, it was quite cool. I was listening to music with headphones while dodging the many people passing by in the city center. If anyone likes rap, I recommend this track by None Like Joshua. I was so focused on the idea of seeing what was in the coordinates of this piece of paper that I didn't notice I had bumped into someone. I'm sorry, I said as I stood up, then helped the girl I had bumped into to her feet. Don't worry, nothing's wrong, replied a girl with long black hair that faded to a vermilion hue tied in a ponytail and pink eyes. Is something wrong? The girl asked. No, I mean nothing, it's just that I don't know, you seem very familiar, I replied. My brain wanted to release a memory, but since it couldn't, it made my head hurt. Now that you mention it, you remind me of someone too, replied the pink-eyed girl. Well, maybe it's just some trick our brains are playing on us anyway. I'm really sorry about the bump. Goodbye, I replied as I walked away from her. That hair, there's no one I know who has that shade, like the embers of a fire, Tanjiro. I stopped dead in my tracks. I was getting scared. How was it possible that someone I'd barely spoken to knew my name? Tanjiro, I felt her hug. I couldn't reciprocate because I was confused. You've changed a lot these past 9 years, the pretty girl with pink eyes smiled sweetly. I know it will sound rude, but who are you? I didn't even see the moment she slapped me. Are you serious, you idiot? How is it possible that I still remember you and you don't remember me? Nezuko, your cousin. Maybe it wasn't the strangest day I've ever had, but you could say it was the second strangest. My right cheek is burning, ouch. Believe me, I can't remember that, but maybe that's a story for another day, I replied, trying to pull away from her, but she had taken my hand. What are you doing? I remember you used to be very absent-minded. I'm glad you're still like that. The dark-haired woman smiled as she walked with the dark-haired man. so that's why I didn't remember you anymore. I felt very melancholic. I had completely forgotten one of the few people who understood me and whom I trusted. Yes, my mom sent me to spend all these years with my dad. They had big differences, and that's why they separated. The girl sighed. I'm sorry about all of that, Nezuko, I replied, looking into her eyes. That doesn't matter anymore, Tanjiro, I'm over it, replied the girl with the pink brooch covering her cheeks slightly as she blushed. How's my mom been? She asked. It's been 3 years since Kanao Kani Shinobu and I stepped down from her care. But I can tell you that during the time we were with her, we noticed the immense stress and overwhelm she felt running the boarding school, the red-eyed boy replied, handing her another bubulubu. Yes, that's why I didn't want to leave my mom. She's very careless, Nezuko said as she walked. You can say that again. She's a really good person, but she neglected me and my sisters, replied Tanjiro, continuing to walk. And since she hardly ever talked about you because of work, we slowly forgot about you. I'm really sorry. Like I told you before, that doesn't matter anymore, replied the pink-eyed girl. But it's wonderful that you're living here in Kyoto again. I recommend you enroll in the school where the girls and I are studying. That way we can make up for the time we haven't been able to spend together. The young man with the scar smiled, cheering up his cousin. That sounds great, cousin. By the way, how are your parents? I'm not going to lie, I don't remember them. They left us with your mom, and after that I don't remember anything else. The red-eyed boy replied sadly. I apologize if I touched on an important topic, Nezuko said. Her last words made him react again. Idiot, I forgot, Nezuko, it was very nice talking to you again, but I have something very important to do, the dark-haired boy said, starting to run. Tanjiro, wait, the young woman with vermilion-colored tips followed him until they reached an abandoned hospital. Nezuko, what are you doing here? The red-eyed boy replied, a little annoyed that she had followed him. That's what I'm wondering, why did you come here? The pink-eyed girl said, annoyed. It's confidential, please leave, Tanjiro said, heading towards the entrance, but the terrible pressure and pain in his right ear prevented him from doing so. Ouch, what are you doing? Asked the crimson-eyed teenager as he watched Nezuko stare at him seriously, raising one of her eyebrows. If that's the case, I'll accompany you, the salmon-eyed teenager said authoritatively. Seeing that he had no other choice, the red-eyed man went with the pink-eyed woman to enter that abandoned building. God, this place looks terrible, Nezuko said, feeling nervous about the atmosphere. This hospital must have been around for a long time to be in such a deplorable state, Tanjiro replied as he pulled out a couple of flashlights. The two young people advanced through the gloomy, brick-walled place. They explored every room of the hospital. The horrible creaks and eerie sounds it made only heightened the Kachotu's anxiety, but as if they shared the same determination, they continued onward, now to a section recently discovered by Nezuko, an underground hatch. You can barely see anything here anymore, said Tanjiro, who changed the batteries in his flashlight using Nezuko's light, and then she did the same. Come on, Nezuko, Tanjiro said seriously as he held her hand tightly. The duo reached a large, long, dark corridor. They took a deep breath and continued onward. What is this, Tanjiro? I found a door, Nezuko said, calling to him. This is very old. Wait, move aside, Nezuko, said the red-eyed boy, taking a running start to tackle the door but with a loud noise. They had arrived at a room that contained a doctor's office. Inside, there were many photos and frames of a couple, a man with scarlet eyes and a woman with eyes of various shades of blue, as well as medical gowns scattered about among other objects. Let's check if there's anything important around here, Tanjiro said, starting to rummage through the place even more, looking for something that might catch his attention. Project Demon. What is that, Nezuko? The young man with black hair walked over to his cousin, who was holding a folder she was staring at intently. She began to read it, leaving him surprised. Inside were various photos and information about patients suffering from what appeared to be a strange disease. Their grotesque appearances were meant to traumatize the two of them, but they still continued to view and analyze all the content. How strange, Tanjiro said as he sat down in the chair behind the furniture. Tanjiro, what's wrong? His cousin asked, very worried, seeing him with such a delirious look. His breathing was ragged as he held a framed photo of himself with his sisters Shinobu, Kanao, and that couple made up of the man with red eyes and the woman with dark eyes. His memory released a small but shocking recollection, causing him to angrily throw the photo against the wall. Where have you been all these years? Where were you when my sisters and I needed you? Where, damn it? Where? Why did you forget us, damn it? Tanjiro screamed, filled with pain and bitterness as he began to cry. Tanjiro, please calm down, Nezuko said, her eyes filled with pain at the sight of her cousin. How do you expect me to calm down? At least your parents never left you alone. You didn't suffer the contempt and pain I felt from others for not having anyone to guide me in my life, of course. Since you had someone who paid attention to you, you won't know what it feels like to be humiliated, mistreated, and rejected like me. Shut you, P. The pink-eyed girl replied angrily, slapping him hard across the face. You're still so immature. What's it to me that you're like this? Did I tell the world to me? Of course not. You're my family, and the last thing I'd want to happen to you was all that stuff you said. Don't be such a jerk, Nezuko shouted, bursting into tears as she clenched her fists tightly. That feeling of arrogance that had slowly taken hold of him faded as he looked at that old photograph again. A beautiful smile was etched on his face next to his sister's, and it made him question his own feelings and emotions. When that anger had finally disappeared, the dark-haired man reflected, dried his tears, and then went to his cousin and gave her a big hug. Nezuko, I hope you can forgive me, he replied, resting his head on her shoulder. Silly, she said, returning the show of affection. It's good that you're letting it all out, she added as she tenderly kissed his forehead. Thank you, Nezuko, Tanjiro said, giving her a beautiful smile that the crimson-haired girl avoided looking at because she had blushed. We'd better go home, Tanjiro said, going to pick up the photo of his old family. What's this? Having picked up the photo, I noticed with my touch a certain small object which turned out to be a USB memory stick. He remembered that he had brought that old laptop with him, took it out of his backpack, and then checked if they had the same port. They are compatible. He waited a few moments for the computer to turn on, then connected the memory and explored its contents. Breath of Fire, EXE. Thunder Breath, EXE. Breath of Water, EXE. Breath of the Wind, EXE. Advanced Training Demon Slayer, EXE. Using the Sword Nichiren, EXE. Recording 932 DD3V1L687Z. EXE. What is all this? The dark-haired man said to himself as he moved the cursor to the last file. Loading 10%, 48%, 77%, 100%. Well, what can I say? How should I begin this recording? I should be brief and concise. Okay, my name is Yoriichi Kacho, and this is my wife Yuta Kacho. We're pharmacists, not doctors, but I'd still like to keep a log of everything that's happened with these strange patients who end up coming to us. They present symptoms that are roughly indicative of a cancer mutation. That's all for today. Well, today was uneventful, so I'd like to talk about my wonderful children. My firstborn, the beautiful Kani Kacho. I would describe her as a very cheerful and lively girl, always kind and helpful with a smile. My second daughter is named Shinobu Kacho. Like her sister, she is very beautiful, but she has shown that she has a very high IQ for her age. It's a great honor to have such a bright little brain in the family. Perhaps when she's older, she'll help me with the pharmacy. My third daughter is Kanao Kacho. I would describe her as an adorable and beautiful girl with a great talent for music. I still remember how she was able to keep up with the rhythm on her drums to a song she had just seen on television. And last but not least, my only son, my little boy Tanjiro. I would think he's just a normal kid, but of course not. He has a determination like a diamond. He never gives up, no matter the situation. I have great faith that in the future he will take care of my beloved daughters because they are the most important thing I have. They'll call me. That's all for today. A terrible accident has just occurred. One of the patients under close surveillance managed to escape, and I must be evacuated immediately along with my wife to a safe location before they open fire on him. That's all for today. One of my colleagues mentioned something that I found very interesting, the topic of reincarnation. Is it possible that when we die, our souls and spirits take over the body of a different person? I can't believe how amazing that is. Anyway, that's all for today. Last night I had a strange dream, or perhaps a premonition. Let me explain. I dreamt that high on a mountain, a man with hair like the embers of a blazing bonfire, intense blood-red eyes, and a strange scar across his forehead was fighting to the death against another man with obsidian hair and feline blood-red eyes. He looked similar to the patients I usually have to treat. I can't remember his name. I only know it ends in Uji. That's all for today. A colleague of mine helped me investigate that strange dream. He brought me an ancient book from the Taisho era. It's a relic, but anyway. From what little it says, it tells the story of an ancient swordsman nicknamed the Demon Slayer. He used powerful techniques called breathing styles, fire, lightning, water, and air, which, along with a sword called Nichiren, he used to kill disgusting creatures. This is very interesting, so I'll take some time to investigate it further. That's all for today. I just fled Asia. For some strange reason, my wife and I have started being hunted by the police. I can't understand why this is happening. I haven't done anything wrong or broken any laws to make me feel like an animal. That's all for today. I don't have much time left to talk. They finally found me. They're coming for my head, but I don't care at all. My children are safe with my sister, so all I have to do is wait to die, hahaha. I understand that monstrosity is after me because I'm a descendant of the legendary Kamado clan. I'm a threat to him, but even if that were the case, I don't think I could defeat his demons, because those patients he treated were actually demons. He created them Muzan Kibutsuji, the Demon King. I can't understand how he managed to find me here in this old hospital. I've dedicated myself to thoroughly investigating the greatest weakness of everyone I've seen, the Demon Slayer, the hero this world will soon need. Right under this desk you'll find what you need. I don't have time anymore. Tanjiro, Shinobu, Kanao, and Kani. If you allow me to see you sometime in the afterlife, I want to apologize for leaving you alone. I just want to tell you that your mother and I love you. Try again. The duo closed the computer with tears streaming down their faces without a second thought. They pushed the piece of furniture, finding a broken part of the floor. They removed it and pulled out a large trunk. They removed the lock, and inside they found a Gakurin jacket along with black Hakama pants, a green and black plaid Hayori tabi socks, a pair of Zoris, a large white belt, a pair of swords in their respective sheaths, and earrings with a sun engraving. Kacho. Instinctively, the young man grabbed one of the swords, and as if it were burning with flames, he beheaded that demon with great anger. Nezuko, we need to get out of here quickly. I'm sorry I thought of you that way, cried the purple-eyed girl next to her two other sisters. Meanwhile, Tanjiro and Nezuko watched them with downcast eyes. He decided to show them part of the video where their parents talked about them so that they could get rid of the anger and pain they felt towards them, just as he felt. She had to invent that her parents had died from a virus they had contracted at work. She wouldn't risk them finding out about their horrible deaths. He saw his sisters, remembered the promise he had made to his father to protect them with his life. It was his last wish before dying, and he would fulfill it. He would protect his loved ones, his city, and he would destroy Muzan Kibutsuji and his demons because a hero had emerged, a savior had risen. He had understood his destiny. He would be the Demon Slayer. Confused feelings. Son of a bitch, Tanjiro. The situation was as follows. The Demon Slayer had ripped off one of the three demons' arms, but the demonic entity had also ripped off his left arm. The Kacho sisters, along with the rest of the Tanjiro squad, witnessed the traumatic situation. The dark-haired man's determination was so strong that he didn't care at all about losing his limb. With incredible speed, he advanced directly toward the demon, positioning himself at its neck. Tell Kibutsuji I don't give a damn, the Slayer said, plunging the blade into him. Burn in hell. A powerful blaze erupted, and the demon began to burn itself to ashes. He felt terrible. He'd been vomiting for some time due to the massive blood loss from losing his left arm. After defeating the demon, he'd fled his family and friends, hiding in an old factory. Damn it, Nezuko, Zenitsu, and Inosuke were right. Sooner or later my sisters would find out about this, the teenager with the Hanafuda earrings said, clutching the spot where his arm used to be. It felt like acid was burning him. The best thing would be for me to leave the house. I don't want to see the three of them again. I'll just take a few things and move to another city. I feel very strange. I can't understand how I managed to defeat that demon when he literally wiped the floor with me, the Slayer said to himself. I see you like my power. That makes me very happy. I'll give you a small gift because I feel happy. Whose voice is that? Shid Alagu. The Peleobsidian gnashed his teeth at the terrible and unbearable latent pain. His fangs began to grow. His eyes turned blood red, and strange fire-shaped marks covered his entire face. You will be the demon bringer. He continued to endure the pain until finally an arm grew back. This is what his entire left arm looks like now. The boy started vomiting for quite a while. All of this had him very confused. The rubbied teenager had returned home, looking very sad as he gazed out from a tree at his family and friends waiting for him late into the night. He sighed, trying to decide what to do. Go to them and explain the truth about why he had become this way, or run away, distance himself from them, and try to start a new life in another city. He felt so ashamed in front of his sisters, remembering their words. They had loved the Demon Slayer without knowing he was one, and it all confused him. Everything had changed from now on. Things would never be the same. I should have told them about this sooner. I don't intend to run away and leave them alone. I remember a promise I made to my father. I would give my life for them and I will protect them. Now he had to face the consequences of his actions. He climbed down from the tree and walked toward the front door. He sighed again and rang the doorbell. Ah, you idiot, you have the keys to your own house. He opened the door of his house where his sisters, cousin, and friends were waiting for him. They all looked very worried. What happened to you? The six exclaimed upon seeing the arm that had. I forgot to cover this arm. Well, to be honest, I don't know what happened either, replied the reddish-haired man. The moment when the three girls slapped him was not even seen. Why didn't you tell us you were the Demon Slayer? Shinobu shouted, taking over the conversation. It's very complicated to explain, Tanjiro said as he sat down in an armchair. Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Nezuko, please leave. I need to be alone with my sisters. Okay, call us if you need anything, Zenitsu said as he left with Inosuke and Nezuko. How do they know? Kani said, even more annoyed. Weren't you going to tell us, Tanjiro, were your sisters? Kanao shouted while looking at him indifferently. Hey, don't come here saying all sorts of things to me. At least I'm not incestuous to be in love with you. The red-eyed boy shouted at his sisters, leaving them completely speechless. Well, how were we supposed to know you were the Slayer, you idiot? Kanao yelled nervously. He calmed down. They were right. It was obvious they didn't know he was the Slayer. He seriously wanted the earth to swallow him up rather than continue living through this awkward moment. Aren't you going to talk? Aren't you going to explain anything to us? the three of them said, arms crossed, watching him. Well, a while ago I started training because I had a strange ability that allowed me to face demons. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to risk anything happening to you. Don't you remember the Spider-Man movies? Peter Parker had to protect his identity from the people he loved, and what happened after he told his girlfriend? She ended up dying because she became a target for his enemies. I don't want that to happen to you, I wouldn't allow it. I couldn't do the same with Nezuko, Inosuke, and Zenitsu, so I carry it on my conscience if anything happens to them. Believe me, it hasn't been easy hiding it from you. Every now and then the thought of talking to you about it crossed my mind. But I denied it even more when I knew you were in love with the Slayer with me, Tanjiro said, lowering his head. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, just that you understand. The trio of sisters sensed the honesty in their brother's words. They understood that there could no longer be any secrets between the four of them. Tanjiro, forgive us, Shinobu said, stealing a kiss from her brother's lips. He opened his eyes in surprise at what his sister had done. No, Shinobu. He pushed her away, but Kanni's lips had already made their presence known. Kanni, you too. Doing the same thing he did with Shinobu, he pushed her away until Kanna's lips paralyzed him again. He moved away from Kanna, looking very annoyed at his sisters, who lowered their heads with great sorrow and a deep blush. What's wrong with you? Are you out of your minds? Tanjiro shouted, receiving a nod of agreement from his sisters. Yes, you don't need to tell us, Kanna said, but you know it's wrong. You can't fall in love with me, I'm your brother. What? I know, Nis, and it's just that you're such a kind and sweet boy to us. You helped us change a while back. No boy I know is or ever will be like you. I can't think of any other boy but you. I know this dark and bizarre love we have for you isn't good, but honestly we see you as our brother and also as our man, Kanni said, looking into his eyes. No, this is wrong. Tanjiro replied, a slight blush rising to his cheeks. We know it very well, Nia-chan, but we can't deny these feelings we have for you, Kanna said as she approached and looked into his eyes. We were confused. We didn't know to whom our hearts belonged, to you or to the demon slayer, but I'm glad it was you. That's much better, Shinobu smiled, making him even more annoyed. Tanjiro, we love you, the three of them said, hugging him. He did nothing, remaining static because his thoughts were battling between accepting his sister's feelings or not. No, Dad entrusted me with the task of protecting you. You all mistook it for love, Tanjiro said, turning his head away from Shinobu's. Yes, but I'm glad things turned out this way, the purple-haired brunette replied, beginning to kiss him passionately. He was completely bewildered. The thought of his sisters as women had never crossed his mind. He admitted that all three possessed undeniable beauty, but that was all. He couldn't understand how his lips had begun to reciprocate being the boyfriend of your own sisters. Shinobu, now it's my turn to test Nia-san. The boyfriend of the Kacho sisters. 2 months had passed since the day the Kacho sisters had discovered the identity of the demon slayer, who turned out to be their own brother. The three girls had fallen deeply in love with him to such a degree that they had driven him mad, causing him to eventually fall in love with them and become their boyfriend. Good morning, Tanji Oniai spoke, a beautiful teenager with charcoal-colored hair streaked with purple, who possessed large, beautiful eyes of a similar color. She tenderly approached the lips of a teenager with charcoal-colored hair tipped with scarlet and who possessed intense crimson eyes. He gladly accepted his sister's show of affection, ending with a slight cut on his lips from his older sister Shinobu. You belong to us, Oniai-san, the purple-eyed woman smiled. Yes, to the three of you, the red-eyed man replied tenderly. Of her three beautiful sisters, she loved Shinobu the most, for at certain moments her mind would reveal the silhouette of a former girl who looked remarkably like her. She didn't understand the reason for these memories, if she wanted to call them that, but she tried not to dwell on them and simply enjoy her sister's love. You came in badly injured last night. Thanks to Kanna who helped me, you managed to recover quickly. Both siblings got out of bed, and Shinobu kissed him on the cheek as he was seen off. He needed to get dressed for school, and since his encounter with that strange demon, their numbers had increased, making his work as a slayer even more demanding. Good morning, Tanji Nia-san, a beautiful teenager with long charcoal hair with fuchsia tips and beautiful eyes of the same color smiled at him. She also approached him, placing a kiss on his lips that was finished with another small bite. Good morning, Kanni, Tanjiro smiled. By the way, where's Kanna? I think she's the one who's missing from wishing me good morning. And indeed, Kanna appeared behind his back and did the same as her older sisters, making it clear that that handsome teenager with the scar on his forehead was only for them. I've been waiting for the weekend to enjoy your magnificent food, said Shinobu, who was preparing breakfast for the four of them. I'm so sorry I can't cook for you anymore, Tanjiro said, looking away sadly as he remembered the time he had to delight his beloved sister's palates with his cooking. Don't worry, Tanji Nia-chan, being the demon slayer almost all the time is very tiring, Kanna said, placing the plates on the table. Although it's worth watching the news to see how our beloved boyfriend saves people from demons, Kanna added calmly, causing Tanjiro to blush slightly. He still wasn't used to his sisters calling him his boyfriend. Breakfast is ready, The four of them, while having breakfast, talked mostly about Demon Slayer and a few other things that happened to them at school. Remember that time you forgot your sword and had to fight a demon with the school mops? Kanny, Shinobu, and Tanjiro laughed at Kano's funny recollection. Or like that other time Kanny got accidentally kicked out of her painting class for supposedly painting something that mocked the teacher by calling her evil fatty. Shinobu laughed along with her other siblings. Yes, because of Daichi, I spent 4 days sitting outside on the steps.
Beep.
It's time to go, Tanjiro said. The four siblings grabbed their backpacks ready for another day of classes. The reddish-brown-haired boy looked a little embarrassed. Shinobu held his left arm somewhat tightly, Kanny held his right arm, and Kana walked in front of the three of them, circling them occasionally as they continued talking. I'm really looking forward to the fall school dance. Kanny said excitedly, letting go of her brother's arm. The question here is who will get to stay with Ne-chan that night, Kano said, starting to look at her older sisters. You're right, we can't all be together, they might suspect that Oniasan is our boyfriend, Shinobu said, analyzing the situation. I don't want to ruin the moment, but you have to keep in mind that being the Demon Slayer keeps me busy all night, the red-eyed man commented, being ignored by his sisters. How about we settle this with rock, paper, scissors? Kano suggested, prompting Kanny and Shinobu to join in. Girls, we shouldn't be late for school, said the teenager with the scar on his forehead as he watched his sisters. Good.
Stone, paper, scissors.
I'm sorry, Kano, but this will be a matter between Shinobu and me, Kanny said, showing her stone to Shinobu and dismissing Kano's scissors. The beautiful lily-seed girl just kept a serious look while crossing her arms, annoyed that she wasn't the one dancing with her older brother. I'm not a trophy, girls, Tanjiro tried to say, but he was ignored again. All right, this one will determine which of the two of us will be Ne-san's partner, Kanny said with great determination. And for that reason, I don't intend to lose, Shinobu replied in the same tone. Rock, paper, scissors, I won. The beautiful purple-eyed girl shouted euphorically, raising her scissors against Kanny's paper. The beautiful fuchsia-eyed girl could only pout as she joined Kano. Shinobu would be Tanjiro's partner. It's great, but I don't think they'll let us into the school anymore. It's been 15 minutes already, Tanjiro added nonchalantly, sitting on the sidewalk. Why didn't you tell us my perfect attendance? Kanny shouted in a panic, grabbing Tanjiro and starting to run. Kano and Shinobu followed, the latter with a small smile as she felt very happy to be the one chosen to dance with her brother. You did a good job, Dauma, killing that massive number of people. You are worthy of the title of Upper Moon Rank 1 for a reason, said an imposing and somber voice. I should thank you for sending your eclipse, although I'm still somewhat annoyed that I can't kill that damn Slayer. That wretch has haunted me for generations. I must finish him off as quickly as possible because he will be a major obstacle to my magnificent plan, the macabre voice replied proudly. But putting that aside, I want to return you to your former human form. It will be easier for us to kill them if you disguise yourself as one. You know very well that we can't be in sunlight. I know that very well, but I just discovered that my body has started generating cells capable of tolerating that disgusting sun. I had a strange vision of the past. I feel as if I'm now linked to that damned Slayer. But you and my other upper moons will be the ones who deserve to be the first generation able to walk in the sun. That voice screamed madly. Don't worry, I'll take care of killing him and handing over the world to you as I promised, Dauma said. I'll send you to a school where, according to my informants, that damned Slayer appears very frequently. You might just end up killing him. Always at your service, replied the rainbow demon. The great demon with long hair and rainbow-like eyes was retreating when his superior's voice made him stop. Dauma, I want you to explain something to me, the voice shouted imposingly. Yes, Dauma replied. Who is this Michael Jackson or Ayuwoki hee guy? You were a teenager, so you'll know why Akaza makes fun of me by calling me the king of demons and pop. The demon sighed deeply and approached his master again, took his cell phone, and went to YouTube to play the video called Smooth Criminal by the deceased singer. Whoever that wretch was, I can only praise their exquisite taste in fashion, replied the demon lord, giving a thumbs up in approval. The school trip. The Kacho quartet had finally gone to class after so much wasted time, but they noticed that all the students in the school were returning to their homes. Wait, Kanny said, spotting her friend Mitsuri before going after her. Shinobu, Tanjiro, and Kano stepped aside, letting the crowd of students pass. They watched as one by one the school parking lot was filled with buses. What do you think that's due to? Kano asked. No idea, Shinobu replied. Tanjiro listened attentively to the conversation between his older sister and her friend Mitsuri. Although there were moments when he glanced around for his cousin and friends, he always prioritized his sisters. Suddenly, the fuchsia-eyed girl approached along with the green-eyed girl. So, Kano asked. We're going on a field trip. Kenny shouted with great excitement, which was evident from the small sparkles in her eyes. That's great. Shinobu and Kano echoed in the same spirits. The dark-haired man noticed how the pink-haired woman kept staring at him. It certainly made him very nervous. What if she knew he had a relationship with his sisters? Is something wrong? The red-eyed man asked, calling his attention. No, because the green-eyed girl replied.
Oni-san.
My friend Akemi told me that this will be divided by classrooms and grades. The purple-eyed girl arrived before the two of them, and then took her brother's arm, and since we're in the same classroom, you'll be my partner. Kani and Kano looked at Shinobu with some anger, but she defended herself by sticking her tongue out at them. Mitsuri, would you mind being my partner? Kani asked. Of course, a classmate named Obanai had insisted I be his partner, but I can't deny you anything, the pink-haired girl replied calmly. Well, I'll see if AI is available, Kano said, leaving the place. All the students returned to their homes awaiting instructions from the school principal. How envious, said a dark-haired man with lilac-tipped hair, lying on a bed and turning over. Maybe next time, said a rueful dark-haired man with red-tipped hair, finishing packing his camping backpack. At least I'll get to taste your lips again before Shinobu hogs them on those days when I can't see you, Kano said flirtatiously, taking Tanjiro's chin in her hand and then giving him a long, diverse-style kiss. The two enjoyed the moment until the oxygen took its toll, leaving them with a deep blush, and Tanjiro's mouth now had an intense taste of blackberries that his sister had recently eaten. You learned so fast, Nai-chan, I have to go change. See you later, I love you, said the lily-seed girl cheerfully, leaving her older brother's room. And I love you too, Tanjiro replied, embarrassed but happy, and proceeded to finish packing his things. Okay, I think I have what I need for the excursion, the red-eyed man said, tying his bootlaces. I don't know if I have room to store my Nichiren sword, he added. Nii-san, we have half an hour to get to school, so hurry up. Kani's voice made him adjust his backpack. This is heavy, Tanjiro complained. I grabbed my sunglasses and left the room. I noticed my sisters were wearing the same outfit, long-sleeved plaid shirts in white, with other plaid patterns that clearly represented their favorite colors fuchsia, purple, and lilac, tucked into cream-colored shorts held up by a brown belt. They were wearing mocha-colored boots and carrying their respective camping backpacks in their signature colors. They look very pretty, I complimented my sisters. They looked very beautiful with their hair held back by their characteristic butterfly clips, letting it fall in a ponytail. We're practically dressed the same, I heard Shinobu's voice, and she was right, I was dressed the same as them too, except for my red backpack and shirt. I wore this shirt because I have to hide my arm, I said, though I still don't understand why they started laughing. In that case, you should put on a glove, don't you think? I had forgotten that my hand was exposed, and I don't think it's very normal to walk around with large claws in the open air. I have a couple, I hope they'll work for you, Kani said, and from a pocket in her backpack she handed me the aforementioned items. Thank you, I replied to my sister as I put on my gloves.
Which thanks, no-san.
Kani pulled me towards her and stole a kiss. Shinobu and Kano turned their gaze away but heard a small moan that had escaped me. Your lips are so addictive. I sighed and pulled away from my sister's kiss. I couldn't deny it, I liked having 3 beautiful women as my girlfriends. You've had your fun, now he's mine, right, Oni-san? Shinobu said, taking my hand. And when did you buy it? Kano reproached me and took my other hand. Just because he's going to be your partner doesn't give you the right to monopolize him. Kani took me by the waist. They started pulling hard, I felt like they were going to break me. That was the disadvantage of having 3 girlfriends. Beep beep.
It's late, let's go.
My alarm clock warned me that it would soon be 2:30 in the afternoon, so I had to put Shinobu on my shoulder, and with both hands I took Kani and Kano away, but not before asking them for a moment to lock the front door. Now we can continue. My sisters had stopped fighting and started talking about what might happen on the field trip. I was grateful for my backpack because without it, Shinobu wouldn't have had anything to lean on. My gaze was fixed ahead. The large crowd of students was quite noticeable, and ignoring the stares I was getting, I kept walking as if nothing was wrong. They didn't matter to me, only my sisters. Hello, Kani, the two-toned-haired teenager greeted sweetly. She was dressed a bit more provocatively. Her shorts reached halfway down her thick legs, and she wore a long-sleeved red shirt that partially revealed her large breasts, which she tied up, showing a bit of her navel. Over this, she wore a sleeveless jacket. She wore ochre-colored boots and long black stockings. She was a delight for all the boys. That's why I don't allow my sisters to dress like that. I don't want others to look at them with desire because they are mine, I told myself as I put Shinobu. You look incredible, I high-fived the green-eyed girl as if they were a couple of little girls. Too bad my brother would scold me if I dressed like that. He's very protective of us, the futseed girl told her friend. It's very kind of him to care about you, it's what a good man should do. Mitsuri smiled tenderly, then looked at Tanjiro, who looked away in embarrassment. I'll say goodbye to my brother so we can go with the group, the fuchsia-haired girl said, and as she walked over to her brother she gave him a small kiss on the cheek, her lips brushing against his. Goodbye, Niasen. Take good care of yourself, I smiled as I watched her walk away with Mitsuri.
Okay, then the three of us. Kaizeanayo.
In front of the three of them, a pretty teenager with blue eyes and black hair tied in two pigtails approached them. Hello, Shinobu, the teenager who answered as AI smiled cheerfully. Hello, Tanjiro, he spoke again, but in a serious tone. The purple-eyed girl responded in kind, while the red-eyed boy barely raised his hand. After receiving a big kiss on the forehead from her younger sister and hearing, I love you so much, Ne-chan, she walked away with her friend towards her group, leaving the Tanji Shino duo alone. We're finally alone, Oniasen, my dear purple-eyed friend, spoke to me.
You know you can't kiss me here, I added.
Lose, he replied reluctantly. Thank goodness, I sighed. I'll do that when we're alone in the tent, he said, licking his lips. Everyone form up. The voice of the director, Mr. Yubayashiki, had been heard.
A terribly bad ending.
So you two, Kacho, are going to be a couple, said a very surprised man with straight dark hair. He was Mr. Kaguya Yubayashiki, the school principal. Yes, that's right, Shinobu replied with a big smile, hugging Tanjiro. Okay, go on, get on the truck, I'll write you down. The pair of brothers ignored the warning and got on the truck. Right here, the red-eyed one shouted, quickly taking a seat in the first row. What's that about, Oniasen? Shinobu asked, raising an eyebrow as she watched her brother, who seemed deranged, hugging the seat. Oh well, I just like to enjoy the scenery, Tanjiro said, now seated. That sounds great to me, the purple-eyed girl went along with it, sitting down next to him. The bus was soon filled with both their group and the others. Everything indicated that they would soon be on their way. Okay guys, the driver said, let's go. The 15 buses began to depart one after the other. Meanwhile, inside the bus where the Kacha siblings were sitting, Tanjiro had stuck his head out the window and was observing everything that moved just like a child. He didn't realize that his older sister was filming him. Alright, Oniai-san, turn around, Kanny and Kanao want to see you, the beautiful purple-eyed girl said while making a video call.
What?
The red-eyed one turned around, hitting his forehead against the window. He was a little startled when it cracked. Nee-san, the beautiful fuchsia-eyed girl said while pouting. We missed you, said the beautiful Ajalila, imitating her older sister. What were you doing? Well, I was analyzing whether the glass is strong enough. You were looking out the window, weren't you? Kanny replied, referring to her younger brother's habit of asking questions. Yes, replied the reddish-brown-haired man, sitting back down. Well, and how are you all? I'm here with AI, Kanao said, turning her phone to record her blue-eyed friend as she read an article in her magazine. Kanao, stop recording me, the girl with pigtails said, blushing as she tried to take the phone away from him. Well, I have to deal with Mitsuri, she fell asleep on my shoulder, Kanny replied, settling her braided-haired friend on her lap. She's heavy. So they're having a great time, their brother laughed at his sister's antics.
Nae-san. Nae-chan.
Don't laugh. Okay, I'm sorry, but they look so adorable when they're annoyed, Tanjiro said, giving his sisters a small smile that made them blush. Let's talk by message then. That was the last thing the fuchsia-haired brunette said, ending her video call with the lilac-haired brunette as well. Good heavens, Shinobu said, resting her head on her brother's lap. I don't know if I have any information left. The boy with the scar on his forehead took out his cell phone, searched through his applications for WhatsApp and entered the group, Kacho Brothers.
In the chat.
Tanjiro, what can I offer you girls? Kanny/Shinobu/Kano, nothing Naesan/Oniisen/Ne-chan, don't your girlfriends have the right to talk to you? Red Purple Heart. Tanjiro, no, that's not it. Tell me, what would you like to talk about? Kano, what are you planning to make for dinner, Ne-chan? Tanjiro, well, I already brought the food, but I don't know if you don't like it. I could make something else for you to eat. Shinobu, and does that include you?
Smirking face. Kanny smirking face. Kano smirking face.
Tanjiro, face without mouth, I'm not available for your menu at the moment. Kanny, hahaha, we're just playing around. Little brother grinning squinting face, let's talk a little about your identity as the Slayer. Tanjiro, what would you like me to talk about? Kano, whatever you like, we'd love to know all about you. Tanjiro, well, I don't feel comfortable with it. Kano, come on, Ne-chan, tell me, didn't anything funny happen to you while you were the Slayer? Tanjiro, okay, this happened a year ago, I had just started. In the celestial panorama, a large portal began to open, causing a collision and the overturning of the transport. Shinobu, are you okay? I hugged my sister, thankfully she wasn't hurt. Oniai-san, you're not the purple-eyed one, began to clean the blood. Tanjiro grabbed his backpack, picked up his sister, and carried her away. They had to leave to find their other sisters, cousins, and friends. The same thing had probably happened to them. Hold on, breathe. Taking a great leap, the two young men were able to see what was happening all around them. Mysterious portals began to open throughout the area. Thanks to his excellent eyesight, Tanjiro could see the other buses that, like them, had derailed. I see Kani, Kanao, Nezuko, Zenitsu, Inasuke, Mitsuri, and Ai. They descended into a tree while receiving a small caress from her sister. Do you think they're okay? Shinobu looked into his eyes. We'll find out then, the dark-haired man said again, starting to jump. Is everyone all right? Kani had reunited with her sister, cousin, and friends. It was all a commotion caused by Mr. Yubayashiki, who couldn't find a certain pair of siblings. Don't worry, sir, here is your student, the Slayer said as he lowered a certain young woman with a butterfly clip holding her hair. It's the Slayer. All the fans of the Guardian of Japan went crazy when they saw him, not giving the young red-eyed hunter time to speak as they all piled on top of him. The Butterfly sisters watched calmly, their eyes twitching and the veins on their foreheads bulging. How would they react to seeing their brother receive love from multiple girls other than themselves? Hey, calm down. Principal Yubayashiki had to drag the poor demon Slayer away from the large pile of teenagers. His Hayori and part of his uniform were ripped. Even demons didn't leave his clothes like that anymore. Thank you very much, Tanjiro sighed deeply, wiping the lipstick from his face. I don't know exactly what's going on, but it leads me to believe this is the work of some extremely powerful demon. The police and firefighters will be able to take them safely. Thank you very much, but I need one more student. His name is Tanjiro Kacho, said the black-haired man. He was the one who called the fire department and the police. Don't worry about him. I'll send it to you later via FedEx if you like, replied the hooded figure with intense scarlet eyes. The Slayer left, and not only him but also the Kacho sisters. Well, I need to see where all that came from. What an idiot I am. It's obvious it came from nowhere, or rather, who created it. The Slayer moved quickly through the trees, his concentration so intense that at first glance it seemed as if he were brushing against the branches. Where do you plan to go, Tanjiro Kacho? Huh, impossible. He couldn't believe it, there were his sisters in front of him. This caused him to lose his concentration, misstepping on a branch and falling face-first to the ground. What are you doing here? Tanjiro shouted as he emerged from some bushes and brushed off the leaves that had stuck to his uniform. His sisters remained unmoved, maintaining a serious expression while crossing their arms. Don't you understand that this is very dangerous and I don't want anything to happen to you? Said the red-eyed one, looking at his sisters. And don't you understand that we'll feel even more unsafe if you're not with us? Don't you think that, just like you, it's very dangerous where you're going and we don't want anything to happen to you? The eldest sister of the quartet spoke up. Yes, I know, but this is my responsibility, he said as he removed his hood. And who says you have to do it alone? His second older sister questioned him. You said we're a team and we don't plan on leaving you alone. Even with our limited skills, we'll try to help you, added his younger sister. The three beautiful girls hugged him, but he remained unfazed by his sister's affection. He loved them as much as his family and as his wives, and for that reason he wasn't going to risk them. Not in this case. With swift movements, the young man, without harming them, knocked them unconscious. He picked them up, and just as he was about to leave, a portal opened in front of him. He had neither the time nor the hands to grab hold as he was dragged and swallowed by the portal. My head hurts a lot, I feel like it could explode at any moment. Look, he's already waking up. Those voices. It's great that you're awake, Tanjiro, replied three beautiful teenage girls. Hey, because my sisters are dressed as demon hunters, and the worst part is there's no internet. A link to the past. Huh, I got up a little bit. Why is my left arm burning? Tanjiro, please lie down again. A beautiful girl with charcoal-colored hair with fuchsia tips spoke with great concern. She was wearing a demon hunter outfit with a butterfly Hayori. Please listen to Kani, you're still badly hurt. A beautiful girl with charcoal-colored hair with lilac tips scolded him, equally worried. She too wore a demon hunter outfit along with a small white cape. We got out of one problem and into another. The good thing is that you survived. A beautiful girl with charcoal-colored hair with purple tips spoke somewhat calmly. She was also wearing a demon hunter outfit under a butterfly Hayori. But what's going on? Why are my sisters dressed the same as me? But what happened to my arm? My left arm had a pattern of flames etched on it, and not only that, they were consuming part of my face. My fangs are very large, as are my nails. And why is my back burning too? Hey Tanjiro, calm down, said the teenager who wore a purple butterfly-shaped brooch. Don't you remember what just happened? Asked the teenager wearing a pink butterfly-shaped brooch. I don't know, I'm very confused, I stammered as I sat down. You just finished a battle. From untold times you defeated Muzan Kibutsuji. Well, something like that, said the teenager who wore two pink butterfly-shaped brooches. But what are they saying? they just kept confusing me even more than I already was. Yes, but above all, we owe you our lives, the three beautiful teenagers gathered to give a hug to the boy with charcoal hair and crimson tips. He enjoyed the warmth emanating from his sisters, but indirectly feeling their large breasts pressing against his body made him blush. Thank you for that, I really appreciate it, I said, a little cheerfully, as I received a glass of water from my sister Kano. It's incredible that you managed to overcome Muzan's consciousness and seize his power, Shinobu replied calmly. I was enjoying that refreshing glass of water, but when I heard that, I couldn't help but spit it out. What? I was just as surprised, but according to Kibutsuji's words before he died, upon finding the demon chosen one alongside his consciousness, he would practically be the perfect being. But your devotion to us was stronger than his will, Kani replied with a slight blush on her cheeks. Tanjiro's brain, processing 10%, 12%, 17%. I know it might sound stupid, but what era are we in? I asked. We are in the Taisho era, why?
Kano replied.
Tanjiro's brain, the sanity program has stopped working, please restart. Hey Tanjiro. Sister, you'll have to give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, maybe he drowned in the water. Wow, what a crazy dream I had. I dreamt I traveled back to the Taisho era, that my sisters were demon slayers, that I defeated and absorbed my nemesis Muzan Kibutsuji, and the worst part that I didn't have internet. Good heavens, I think I won't be eating many pies for dinner this year. Do you want us to bake one? Kano asked innocently. The red-eyed one screamed, falling out of bed upon seeing his sisters still wearing their demon hunter uniforms. Are you all right, Tanjiro? Kani didn't hesitate for a second and helped him up to put him back in bed. Your brother is much better now. Shinobu entered the room with Nezuko. The girl with bright pink eyes approached to hug her brother. Thank you so much, sister-in-law. You're welcome, sister-in-law. The purple-eyed one smiled with a deep blush on her cheeks upon hearing the words of her fiancé's sister. Kani, Shinobu, and Kano all looked at the Kamado siblings with big smiles. Meanwhile, Tanjiro was still processing what his brain had just acquired and what he had remembered. He had a romantic relationship with his sisters, and in this case he was only Shinobu's fiancé. His cousin Nezuko was in this case his sister, and the question now was, what were his sisters really? What am I to you? I exclaimed wildly to Kano, Kani, and Shinobu. Your Tanjiro Kamado, our friend, writes. Kano said, a little surprised. All that information hit him like a ton of bricks. His sisters weren't his sisters, his cousin wasn't his cousin, and most unsettling of all, he wasn't him. Nezuko, Shinobu, Kano, and Kani, could you please leave me alone? Sure, we'll be with AI in the meantime. Let us know if anything happens, the four girls said as they left and closed the bedroom door.
May it happen to him.
A tremendous explosion was heard. The pillars along with their Tsugyuko knocked down the door. There was a large hole in the wall adorned with bloodstains. But most importantly, Tanjiro had escaped. Kano warned Tomioka, Shinazugawa, Hashibara, and Agatsuma that Tanjiro has escaped Kani and I will go after him. Take Nezuko with AI now. Shinobu ordered her younger sister, and together with her older sister they quickly went after the Scarlet demon. Don't hurt her, cried little Kamado's sister as she was held by the Tsugyuko. In the darkness and under the faint glow of the moonlight, an entity with a blazing gaze sped through the night forest. Not far behind, two huntresses followed, trying to hold back their tears. Tanjiro, please, Shinobu said, quickening her pace to catch up with her future husband. Come back with us, Kani said, while internally fighting not to draw her sword. Tanjiro ignored this and continued onward. He was mostly running away because he was confused. He wanted to be alone to reflect on what had happened, but his impulses wouldn't allow it. Tanjiro, I know you're good. Kano cried through tears as she watched the boy she loved so much run away from her and her sisters. They had climbed up to a ravine, and because the trees obstructed their view, the four of them plummeted to the ground. He saw them as what they were to him, his sisters, and therefore he had to protect them. Multiple bony protrusions shaped like tentacles sprouted from his back. He drew them to him, and enveloping them in a great protective embrace, he crashed to the ground. Are you okay? The dark-haired man asked as he watched his three sisters hold him tightly, just as they always did when they were scared or needed him. Why did you run away? Kani's voice was low and very sad. She looked up at him, their eyes meeting, causing her to blush. I would give my life for you, for Kano and Shinobu, the demon sighed, letting his head fall to the ground. I felt so confused, perhaps I, or maybe my consciousness, traveled to the distant past of my ancient relatives. This is all so strange, so many questions.
I love you, Tanjiro.
I didn't even notice that Shinobu, Kano, and Kani had gotten up. Kano kissed her cheek, Kani kissed her forehead, and Shinobu kissed her lips. She loved that feeling, the feeling of her sister's love. It would be best to tell them why she was like this. You haven't answered my sister's question, Kano said, sitting down. Kani and Shinobu did the same. Tanjiro scratched his head a little nervous, but with a small sigh he decided to speak. Look, I don't know what's going on, but I can tell you that from my point of view you're acting very strangely, because you're actually my sisters. My sisters, the Kacho sisters shouted in shock. I can't understand why this happened. I was having a normal day with you all. We were going on a school trip. Then a strange portal opened in front of me.
So you're from the future? Kenny asked incredulously.
I don't think so. This isn't my body even though we're practically identical. I'm not a demon. I once read about that in a book. Our reincarnations rarely manage to connect with their past selves. Only when they die. Shinobu's voice was very clipped and punctuated by worried sighs.
You're saying that I'm actually dead?
I don't know, it's just speculation based on what my book says, and what you say about us actually being your sisters makes me think that the four of us died at some point, and were reincarnated into that life. You're talking about. The purple-eyed one spoke again, but in a halting manner. But how are we still alive then?
Kano's voice became agitated.
Shinobu said that at some point we're all going to die, meaning we can reincarnate into different versions of ourselves. One of them being Tanjiro's sisters, the Fuchsiid girl explained, her voice trembling. If that's how things are, I'll make sure it doesn't happen. I won't let my sisters, you die. The red-eyed one spoke with determination. It's not a bad life if I'm by your side, Shinobu said, sounding a little cheerful as she smiled at him.
Tell us then, Tanjiro, what is our life like with you? Kano asked curiously.
We four lead a very happy life as siblings. Although I recently agreed to be your boyfriend, the demon scratched his head sadly.
What? The butterfly sisters shouted, blushing furiously.
Seriously, all three of us are your girlfriends? How is that possible when all four of us are brothers? I don't know, you should have thought about that when you told me to my face and kissed me for the first time. The young Kamado shrugged casually. The three sisters were embarrassed by that and, so to speak, curled up into a ball just like my second favorite waifu, Rin Tosaka from Fate. Tanjiro watched them with an amused smile. He truly loved them very much. I think it's best if we head back home. As usual, he took Kano and Kani in his arms and Shinobu carried her on his shoulder, and soon they began to walk. Tanjiro, put us down, the girls shouted, blushing. What? Tomioka, Shinazugawa, Agatsuma, and Hashibara had all arrived and looked at each other in embarrassment at the awkward scene with the Kacho sisters and Kamado. So you finally decided to go for all three. Adapting.
Zamum.
The remaining pillars and demon slayers looked much calmer. Tanjiro hadn't lost control, it was just that seeing him like that with the Kacho sisters was very embarrassing. It would be best if we return to the Kacho estate to discuss the threat Kibutsuji made against us, said a young man with dark hair and blue eyes. After that bloody decisive battle where the slayers finally triumphed, but at the great cost of losing many of their friends, comrades, and pillars, Tamio, Genya Shinazugawa, Mukairo, Takedo, Mitsuri, Kenroji, Obanaguro, Jaimai Haimjima, and almost Tanjiro Kamado the latter, along with Shinobu Kano and the newly discovered older sister Kani Kacho, Jiu Tomioka, Sanmi Shinazugawa, Inasu Kashibara, Zenitsu Agatsuma, and Yushiro, were the survivors. Even so, they suffered lasting consequences from the battle. Kano temporarily lost her sight but was aided by the late Iguro snake, Kaburemaru. Kani and Shinobu sustained multiple scars. Jiu lost his right arm. Sanmi, Zenitsu, and Inasuke battled multiple internal hemorrhages, and Tanjiro was forced to live permanently as a demon. The son of the late Kaguya Yubayashiki, Kiryu Yubayashiki took command to lead the 98th generation of demon hunters against the two new evils that had emerged. Very good cookies, Kanzaki, a young man with ash-blonde hair and black eyes, spoke. The remaining pillars and hunters returned to the butterfly estate. They had a very important meeting, more of a chat, to discuss what was happening now, but with the added bonus of enjoying a warm glass of milk and some cookies baked by a teenage girl with pigtails and blue eyes. Could that last thing Kibutsuji said be true? Tomioka asked, taking a sip from his glass. I don't know, I'm worried about two as strong as me are coming after me. Don't get too confident, Shinobu said, sounding a little concerned. But we're all still alive, and this time we won't falter. We will win, we will stay alive until the very end. Kani's positive and cheerful attitude motivated everyone, and they joined hands. Tanjiro, who was still processing everything he was experiencing, ignored this, which annoyed the Kacho sisters, who forcibly took his hand and joined the others. It was very early, the first rays of sunlight were barely appearing, but the young man with burgundy hair was already awake and sitting on one of the trees in the garden. He missed his sisters, and although they were physically with him, it didn't feel the same. They weren't them. Doubts plagued him. Were they all right? Were they worried about him? Did they have enough to eat? All of this distressed him. As their brother, he had always looked after their well-being and loved them as his only family, just like his wives, and it broke his heart that he couldn't do anything to bring them back. She looks very sad, Kani said, looking out the window into the estate. We have to do something. I don't know if I can believe that thing about us being his family in the future. It just sounds so strange, Kano said, her tone still filled with worry. We've spent our entire lives killing demonic beings as if it were the most common thing in the world. To not believe that his future memories have fallen into his ancestors' lap is to doubt his honesty, and all the time I've been by his side he never lied to me and I don't think he will either, Shinobu said firmly. She had faith in her boyfriend, so she went out to comfort him. Even though they were very different, they were still the same. Hello Tanji, can I sit down?
Asked the middle Kacho sister sweetly.
I don't know why you're asking if this is your home, said the older brother Kamado, stepping aside. Shinobu sat down beside him and rested her head on his shoulder. I do believe your words. It makes me uneasy that my days with you are numbered, but I feel at peace inside knowing we'll meet again in the future, and that future looks much brighter than the one we're living now. You are the Tanjiro who comforted me many months ago and offered me his light when I fell back into my darkness. Likewise, my different versions will continue to love you. I took his cheek in my hand to kiss him, which Tanjiro reciprocated. Upon seeing this, Kani and Kano felt a pang in their hearts and quickly went towards the couple in love. Tanjiro, so you're saying that in your future we're your girlfriends? How's that? Kani said, blushing deeply. Is this kind of relationship between siblings allowed? Kano asked, blushing deeply. Shinobu glared at her sisters for ruining the romantic moment with her boyfriend, although she couldn't blame them anymore because he no longer belonged only to her but to all three of them. Both the redhead and the black-haired girl climbed down from the tree. There, the three sisters reunited, with Kano in her right arm, Kani in her left, and Shinobu sitting between her legs, all listening attentively to the adventures they would share with Tanjiro in the future. The sun had already risen, and the sisters were wearing medical aprons while they checked on Tomioka, Shinazugawa, Agatsuma, and Hashibara with Ai and Nezuko. It's sterilized, there's no risk to your arm. Those were the final results from Purple-eyed as she adjusted Tomioka's bandage. Wow, the wound is almost closed, the Fuchsiid girl said in surprise, after examining Shinazugawa's back. Stop moving, shouted the blue-eyed girl, backed up by the lilac-eyed girl, as they tried to control Hashibara, who refused to stay still. Well, Nezuko was doing well because Agatsuma was taking all his medicine without complaint. On the contrary, he was asking for more just because he wanted to enjoy the beauty of his friend's sister. In the training hall, Tanjiro kept to his brisk trot, wanting to familiarize himself with his body. He no longer had that demonic arm on his left side, but a normal one. That was a good thing because he could finally wield his sword again. Well, it's time for the pa. The sound of an explosion startled all the girls. The wall collapsed, revealing Tanjiro in a monstrous form. Fire scars consumed his entire arm and part of his face. Large blades emerged from his arms, 4 bony tentacles sprouted from his back alongside 3 whips of flesh, and a gaping maw opened, revealing sharp fangs as his pupils slowly faded away.
My heir. The Kacho sisters again hesitated to draw their swords.
Tanjiro's consciousness continued the fight against Muzan's. The latter refused to relinquish his desire to possess his body. Leave me alone. His reddish pupils reappeared. Kano, give me your sword, I'm going to kill him. Come on, Tanjiro, I have faith that you really can defeat him, Kani said. Degrees. You can be the perfect being, Tanjiro, I give you all my power to use and dominate these drones. Shut you cheap Michael Jackson copy, your concert inside me ends now. Michael Jackson, who is that? Degrees.
Are you all right?
The redhead regained consciousness, finally gaining full control of Kibutsuji's powers and accessing his combat form, AN. This is the name given to the transformation Muzan takes when his hair turns white. Yes, Tanjiro replied to Ai, who finally returned to her human form. What really happened to you? Kani asked. I managed to subdue Kibutsuji. He felt very tired and his head hurt. Then you'll rest for a while and then you'll clean up this whole mess, the purple-eyed one said seriously, referring to the wall she had destroyed. But there was no time to complain because the girl handed him a bucket, a broom, and a mop. We all have to go to Oyakata-sama's son's house early tomorrow morning, so I recommend you get some rest now or start cleaning. Tanji, smiled the middle Kacha sister, leaving with her younger and older sisters. Are you going for the cleaners now, or are you going to rest? Ai asked, memories and moments. Okay, I'm done, said a young redhead, wringing out a mop. Well, are you planning to come for dinner or are you going to bed? Said a young woman with dark hair and lilac tips. I don't really know, I'm a little hungry but I also feel tired, the boy replied, cracking his knuckles. If you'd like, I can go and bring you your dinner. The young woman's calm voice changed to a nervous one as she felt Tanjiro's hands holding hers. Really, Kana? Thank you so much, Tanjiro smiled as he kissed her on the cheek. Yes, don't worry, the young woman with lilac eyes stammered, her face flushed. I'm going to take a bath. If you don't have time, I'd like to talk to you. Those were Kamado's last words as he turned towards the entrance of the hall, but he stopped dead when he heard a loud bang. He turned around and there was his sister unconscious and lying on the floor. She fainted. They'll think I did this. I have to do something but first. Red-Eyed carried her in his arms, feeling his sister's toned and delicate body. She was very beautiful and reminded him of their childhood. They would play, she would get hurt, and he would have to carry her to their mother for treatment. He treasured those memories. He had become very sentimental, so he kissed his beloved sister on the forehead. She slowly began to form a small smile. Let's see, I've got it. From his back he made the bone tentacles emerge and went towards the window of the room, came out through it and began to climb until he reached a room which had the window open. There's no one here, I hope it's yours. He went in and laid the young woman on the bed, covered her up and left through the window. I love you, sister. He climbed out the window and looked at her again, so beautiful just like her sisters, and he would do whatever it took to return to his family, to them. I'm going to take my bath, said the boy, going back into the farmhouse. What happened? Canny had woken up, rubbing her eyes and noticing that she was on her friend Ai's bed. Did you sleep well? Asked the pretty girl with ruby eyes sitting in a chair, catching the younger sister's attention. And Tanjiro, the lily-seed girl, asked. I went to look for him in the training hall on your sister's orders, but he wasn't there anymore. He probably went out somewhere, Kanzaki replied. Kanao remembered what had happened previously and like a bullet she ran towards the kitchen. Bye-bye. She arrived in the kitchen. Her two older sisters were there preparing dinner. Excuse me, I had a small problem. I'll catch up in a few seconds, Sugiko said, rolling up the sleeves of her uniform. Don't worry, sister, but haven't you seen Tanjiro? I haven't seen him since I cleaned the living room, and neither has Shinobu, the older sister said while kneading dough. He's taking a bath. Good evening. The young redhead had entered the kitchen wearing only the hakama pants and white shirt of his uniform and his tabi shoes. Oh, there you are. Dinner will be ready in a few moments, Canny said as she started chopping vegetables. Actually, I was wondering if I could help you. The young man with the Hanafuda earrings spoke up. Sure, no problem, said Shinobu, who worked in the salsa. Okay, he smiled as he rolled up his shirt sleeves and picked up an apron. Please take a seat then. The confused sisters did as he said, took their seats and observed him closely. Breathe. Breath of the kitchen, first stance. This isn't how it works. At Tanjiro's words, the sisters' eyes narrowed to tiny dots just like Kanao's because they felt so embarrassed. Breath of the kitchen, third position. Aroma and seasoning. The redhead grabbed one of the knives and with incredible speed chopped all the vegetables and emptied them into a bowl. He kneaded the dough and sprinkled more flour on top. He took the noodles and put them in a pot, poured water over them, and used a lighter to turn on the stove so the flames would cook the pasta. The trio of sisters looked astonished. His speed, movements, and elegance while cooking were incredible. He knew what he was doing. He was a true professional chef. Thanks to his sisters being very demanding and disliking any food that wasn't made by him, he took the time to take his culinary skills to the highest level he could, making the small aromas penetrate and stir the sense of smell, opening anyone's appetite. She added seasonings to the sauce, mixed them together, and then took a spoon. Now tell me, what do you think of this? Tanjiro said, offering it to the girls to try. From the oldest to the youngest, Canny, Shinobu, and Kanao tried it, and little by little their cheeks began to blush slightly. Wow, how exquisite! The beautiful Fuchsiid Hashira exclaimed happily as she savored the liquid. Each ingredient can be tasted, it's incredible, said the beautiful Purpleid Hashira in surprise as she recognized the soy, chili, ginger, and vinegar. The best sauce I've ever tasted, exclaimed the beautiful Tsugiko with lilac eyes, sighing and licking her red lips. And it smells delicious. I'm glad you liked it, Tanjiro smiled as he finished cutting the meat. I learned to cook thanks to you all. For us, the sisters said. Yes, I love cooking for you, or rather, for the version of you I know, the fire-wielding Hashira laughed. Oh, little by little, they were beginning to understand why their future selves had fallen in love with him, even though they were their sisters. One of those reasons was his glorious mastery of the kitchen. All that's left is to put them in the oven. She took the tray containing the dough balls and set the temperature. They were speechless. If he was an amazing guy before, in the future he would leave them speechless like he did now. Tanjiro picked up the dishes and took them to the sink to wash them. The sisters looked at each other. They had very intense feelings for him, and although all three would eventually succeed, they couldn't be ashamed of how they had achieved it. They got up from their chairs and went to the young man with the scar. Can we help you? The trio of butterfly sisters asked timidly. Oh, of course, she smiled sweetly. Now the four of them, working as a team, cleaned the entire kitchen. The sisters began to smile as they cleaned, dried, and put away the dishes. As she finished washing her hands, she wore a happy expression. Seeing them so cheerful was always a joy. Dinner was already served. AI and the girls carried the trays of food to Nezuko, Jiu, Sanmi, Zenitsu, and Inasuk. Shinobu, Kanao, and Kani did the same, but then they remembered something. Tanjiro hadn't returned for his. Do you think this is a good idea? What if she's lost her appetite? Kani looked very unsure as she held her food tray. Maybe he came back when we didn't notice, and when he saw there was no food, he decided to go back to his room so as not to bother us. Shinobu was sure of her words. After all, she was his girlfriend. Kanao, who was walking ahead, indicated to her sisters that the door was ajar. Do you think we should go in? The sisters listened intently. Strange sounds could be heard. Was she crying? They were alarmed and agitated, entered the room. He lay on his bed, tears streaming from his scarlet eyes as he stared at a strange rectangular device. Tanjiro. I hear their voices. What an idiot. I forgot to close the door. I quickly put that device away and wiped away my tears. What do they want? I speak a little coldly. Dinner was already served, but we noticed you didn't come back for yours, Kani said, very worried when she saw him like that. I did, but there was no more food, so I decided it was best to go back so as not to cause any trouble. Although the second sister, Pillar, had been right, it wasn't the best time to celebrate. If you'd like, you can eat with us, Kanao said, looking at him a little sadly. Don't worry, it'll pass. I just ask that you leave me alone, the redhead said, turning his back on them. This upset them. They couldn't understand how he had gone from being so happy with a smile as bright as the sun to now being sad and in tears. My one-san, my niece-san, Miyamoto-san, I miss you all. What she had experienced in the kitchen made her so sentimental. Her team Kacho was gone. Kani, Shinobu, and Kanao now sensed her sadness, someone who only wanted to return to her true home. Sisters, forgive me, I'm so sorry I'm not with you anymore. I hope you're all right and safe. Don't worry about me. Your sisters are here, and they're proud to have such a wonderful man by their side, Shinobu, Kanao, and Kani said, climbing onto the bed to hug him. The three placed their hands on Tanjiro's chin and each took a turn kissing him on the lips, starting with Shinobu, then Kani, and finally Kanao. Their cheeks flushed a deep red just like theirs. For Kani and Kanao, it was their first kiss. The sisters looked at him with great tenderness, and for a moment he saw in their eyes the presence of his beloved sisters. I love you, Nae-san. I love you, Oni-san. I love you, Nae-chan. And I love you all now. It was he who enveloped them in a big hug. His sisters would never stop loving him madly, even partially returning to their ancestors to prove it to him. This act calmed him. There was no longer time for melancholy, but to enjoy the memories and accept the new life he had. Come on, Nae-san, eat, Kani said, holding the gyozzi she had made with a pair of chopsticks. Kanao and Shinobu did the same and without his consent, began to shove those empanadas down his throat until he choked. I'm not hungry anymore, you all eat, Kamado/Kacho said with difficulty, hitting his chest to help the food go down. Okay, said the girls, tasting the delicacy he had made. By the way, what was that you had in your hand, Oni-san? Shinobu asked curiously as she wiped her lips with a napkin. He was nervous, and it gave him away every time he scratched his head. Come on, Nae-chan, what is it? Kanao said, putting her teacup back on the tray. His sisters were so insistent that he had no other choice. He reached into the pocket of his hakama and pulled out a cell phone. And what is that? The beautiful teenagers approached and surrounded him. This is an iPhone. A cell phone is a device with many functions and cool features, Tanjiro said as he unlocked the device. He went into his gallery to show them the different photos he took of his sisters or that they sent him. The Kacho sisters came to their senses, their reincarnations had disappeared and they looked in amazement at the photo of themselves in the future. They turned to look at Tanjiro, who could not stop admiring the trio of beauties he had as girlfriends and as sisters. I love them, they're the best thing that ever happened to me. That prayer, along with the recent memory of sharing a kiss with the lathe, made the sisters' cheeks very red. I still have more, the young man with crimson eyes spoke, moving on to the next image. Oh shit, to our beloved brother and future husband. His breathing became labored. That photo of his sisters, when did they take it and send it to him? The worst part was that now he felt 3 murderous auras. Pervert, the trio of sisters shouted, each delivering a powerful punch to his face, knocking him unconscious. Blushing, they left and slammed the door. Did you find Tanjiro? AI asked the Hashira and Sugyuko, but they didn't answer and continued walking. I wonder what happened to them. The blue-eyed girl entered the aforementioned room, letting out a scream upon seeing him. A black eye, blood trickling from his nose, and a missing tooth that's more complicated than you'd think. The new pillars. Due to yesterday's events, the trio of butterfly sisters decided not to associate with the eldest of the Kamado brothers because of his perverted nature. The remaining pillars and hunters rode on horseback towards the house of Oyakata-sama's youngest son, Kirya Yubayashiki. I think I broke my jaw, I lamented. Despite being a demon, my regeneration was blocked, but what a beating the trio gave me. Did you fall out of bed that hard? A hunter with blonde hair and honey-colored eyes spoke. Yes, in fact, I'm missing a canine tooth. I put one of my fingers in the hole where my tooth used to be. Haha. Poor you, Manjiro, that's what you get for sleeping on those soft, devilish rectangles, said a hunter wearing a boar mask on his head, laughing loudly. That offends me today. At least he's not some idiot who climbs out the window in the middle of the night to go sleep in the garden bushes. Zenitsu retorted angrily. What did you say, stupid? Inosuke said, pointing his finger at him. He's not some idiot who climbs out the window in the middle of the night to go sleep in the garden bushes. The blonde repeated, showing him the middle finger. Come on guys, we need to calm down. I had to calm them down. I hope they're not so much like my friends. You're lucky I don't know what that means, and if I did I'd give you a good beating, replied the boy with the boar's head while making a fist. Come closer, pig, come closer. Now the hunter in the yellow Hiyori was provoking him by moving his hands. Oh yeah, you'll see, you underdeveloped human Pikachu. Those were Hashibara's last words as he tackled Agatsuma off his horse. This is so difficult. I generated 2 of my bone tentacles to separate them from the fierce fight they were having on the ground. Tanjiro, please put me down, Zenitsu begged. I have to break Peppa's hussy. There's 2 just in case, Kukeo, you cheapskate. Inosuke shouted, trying to break free from the grip. I conjured 2 of my flesh whips and with them I grasped the reins of their horses. I lifted my 2 companions a little higher. Seeing them like that reminded me of how I used to hang laundry. Well, we finally arrived. A small group of hunters were greeting us, but as I was about to get off my horse, I remembered that I had Inosuke and Zenitsu hanging up there. I looked up. Did they fall asleep? I lowered them to the ground and carried them on my shoulders. Why wasn't I a babysitter instead of a hunter? I'm better at the former than the latter. Ah, Mr. Kamado, a Kakashi could only watch the demon human carrying 2 unconscious and badly bruised men on his shoulders. Very suspicious. The redhead made his way through the large house, obviously not knowing where he was, and got lost repeatedly until he found his cousin in one of the hallways. Brother, where were you? Nezuko approached him and took one of his arms. What happened to Inosuke and Zenitsu? I did what I had to do, I said as I continued walking. Huh, don't tell me that Nezuko began to get scared. I separated them from the fight they were having, I replied, looking straight ahead. Thank goodness, sighed his sister as she led him to the room where everyone was. I think we're all here, said a boy with black hair and plum-colored eyes. It's time to discuss what Muzan Kibutsuji said before he died. If that were true, the truth is we don't know exactly where to look. Kibutsuji was always very elusive, so those 2 will be even more so, Sanemi said politely to the boy. As Shinazugawa said, we have no clues, we have nothing more than that phrase, he said when he lost to Tanjiro's consciousness. Jiu spoke up. We should start looking for them right now. If he was capable of destroying the city, we don't want to imagine the magnitude of what those 2 will be capable of. Kiriya analyzed the situation. And what do you want us to do, Oyakata-sama? Kani spoke in her characteristic sweet voice. First of all, don't call me that, I'm still a kid and it feels weird when you say it. I'm just Kiriya, the boy replied, a little embarrassed. So what do we do, Kiriya-san? Shinobu said in her characteristically calm voice. What we'll do is go look for them, but first I have some important things to do. The little boy stood up from the ground. Zenitsu, Agatsuma, Inosuke Hashibara, Kano Tsuyuri, and Tanjiro Kamado, please stand up. The 4 boys mentioned obeyed the order, approached their leader, and knelt down. Because of your incredible work in defeating Muzan Kibutsuji, I have decided, and it's something my father would be sure of. Agatsuma Zenitsu, from now on you will be the lightning pillar. Hashibara Inosuke, from now on you will be the beast pillar. Tsuyuri Kano, from now on you will be the second flower pillar. You Kamado Tanjiro, you already bore the title of the flame pillar, but now you will be the sun pillar. Kiriya took a small box beside him, opened it and took out a knife. He made a small cut on his index finger with it. He ordered each of them to show him their left fists and on them he carved the kanji for lightning Japanese letter on Agatsuma's fist, the kanji for beast Chinese letter on Hashibara's fist, the kanji for flower Chinese letter on Tsuyuri's fist, and the kanji for sun Chinese letter on Kamado's fist. Be proud of your achievement, exclaimed Mr. Yubayashiki's son, raising his fist. The remaining pillars, the insect Chinese letter, the flower Chinese letter, and the wind Chinese letter, raised their fists, revealing their pillar kanjis as well, except for the water pillar. I can no longer be a pillar due to my current condition. I will leave my position vacant to my successor Nezuko Kamado. The young man's words were very confident, showing no regret. Everyone was astonished by the statement, with particular emphasis on the 2 Kamado brothers. What are you saying, Tomioka, my sister, your successor? I stammered, not very convinced. We have to be realistic, Tanjiro, I won't be able to be of any use. Your sister is human again, so there's nothing stopping her from learning that breathing technique and becoming a demon slayer. replied the man with his hair tied in a ponytail. I wanted to protest. She was my cousin and I didn't want anything bad to happen to her. Like my sisters, I loved her very much and avoided exposing her to danger, but I couldn't do anything about Kiria's words. We suffered heavy losses. We need all the help we can get if we want to live in peace and without any fear, said the lavendaried boy, getting up from the ground. Together with Mr. Yurikodaki, I will take care of training her and getting her ready as quickly as possible, the swordsman with the double-patterned Hayori spoke up, his gaze fixed on the girl who remained silent. Nezuko, I approached my sister, but she stood up suddenly, her eyes, those eyes, it's as if I were looking at myself, they overflowed with enormous determination. I thought that with Kibutsuji's death my parents would finally be at peace, but I see that's not the case, then I'll take it upon myself to kill everyone I can, exclaimed the pink-eyed girl, her eyes burning with determination just like her brother's. I swallowed hard. What could I do? She's just like me and therefore she wouldn't care what others said. Are you sure about that, Tomiyaka-sama? Asked the boy with charcoal-colored hair. Yes, and the best thing would be to leave now with Mr. Yurikodaki. The less time she wastes, the faster she'll be back here. Those were Tomioka's last words. A year has passed, things have remained calm, but it wasn't just any calm, it was a very uneasy one that incited restlessness and anxiety. Could this be the end or the beginning of a new era for the demon hunters? Sister, how are things? A beautiful young woman with wisteria eyes spoke. There have been reports and sightings of demons in the city of Osaka, replied a beautiful young woman with orchid eyes. Then we'll all have to go investigate. It's time to go on a trip, Shinobu spoke, the insect Hashira. Good heavens, Tanjiro said he was arriving today. Why is he taking so long? Didn't he answer your letters, Kano, said Kani, the flower-headed girl. No, why did we allow him to go train for those 3 months with his friends? Kano replied, the second flower Hashira. This is Kano's current appearance. She now wears a double-patterned butterfly brooch in honor of her older sisters. While the sisters continued with their business, the door to their estate opened, and footsteps echoed on the wooden floor until they reached the room where they were. The door slowly opened, and whoever was entering took the breath away from Shinobu, Kano, and Kani. Those eyes, Shinobu spoke. What hair, Kano said. What a figure, Kani said. He's gorgeous. The sisters said, blushing deeply. I'm here, girls, Tanjiro, the sun pillar, said, entering alongside Zenitsu, the lightning pillar, and Inosuke, the beast pillar, his Kamaboko squad. The current appearance of the TIZ trio. The 3 beautiful women rushed forward to kiss their beloved husband. We will no longer allow you to go out from now on, the 3 of them said, before leaving. This is how the Kacho sisters referred to Tanjiro.
Kani dear, Shinobu darling, Kano heaven, if you have better nicknames, let me know.
I missed you all too, I exclaimed, overjoyed to finally see my beloved Kani, Shinobu, and Kano. I hugged them and returned every kiss they gave me. Have you finished showing off your wives? The blonde man's tone was serious. He kept his arms crossed, raising an eyebrow. It still burns you up that her sister doesn't pay attention to you. The raven-haired man's expression was mocking. He had hit him where he needed to be. Oh, do you want me to make you into bacon again with one of my rays? The Hashira with the triangle Hayori said angrily, putting his hand on his sword. Look how I'm trembling, Kararin, let's see it again. The Hashira, wrapped in a boar scarf, shouted energetically, placing his hand on his dual swords. Guys, I don't want you fighting in front of my girls. My cold, dead stare was enough to calm them down and make them lower their guard. Isn't Nezuko around here, by the way? Zenitsu said in his typical love-struck tone. I couldn't tell you, most likely he'll come today, Kani replied naturally while caressing her husband's flat stomach. I'll go and wait for her then, and in a flash Agatsuma disappeared. He is fast, Kano said while playing with her husband's hair. From what you told me, first you were going to be Tapioca's successor, then Rengoku-sama's successor, but finally you decided to be Yuzui's. Hashibara commented while laughing. Huh, what do you mean? Shinobu looked confused by the comment, and not because Tanjiro's left fang hadn't grown back. Forget it, just pig-like thoughts. I'd better go find Ai so she can feed me properly. The pillar with lemon-colored eyes left the room and headed to the kitchen. That's strange, Shinobu said, puzzled by her companion. Yes, I thought I'd still be eating tree bark. No, not that, it's just that they've changed so much that their rude attitude is very strange, Kani said, getting up. What can you expect from training to the extreme for 3 months without rest? Even though it was torture, it was fun spending time with my friends. You've changed a lot too, you look even more beautiful than I remember. Thank you, darling sweetheart, honey, what beautiful smiles my 3 beloved wives wear. Aren't you hungry? I could cook for you again like I used to. I speak for all my sisters when I say don't worry, not now. We're looking into a trip to Osaka City, Kano said, pushing him and her 2 other sisters towards their offices. It was hard to concentrate on reading the reports, not when you hear Kani's beautiful laughter, Kano's adorable expressions, and Shinobu's sultry voice. So I gave up and crossed my arms, waiting for them to quiet down. Will you let me read in peace? It's not easy dealing with women, and even less so with personalities as varied as theirs. You came back very bitter, dear. Her tone of voice was so cheerful, always with a beautiful smile, my beloved Canny. No, I'm not, I just want to read these documents. Are you still upset because the tooth I hit you on didn't grow back? That provocative voice, those intense, focused eyes, that was my beloved Shinobu. Of course not, in fact it's fun to blow through that space, good melodies come out. Nisan, one-san might be angry because we didn't let him read in peace, my beloved Kano. Everything about her is so sweet and she understood me in most things. Just let me read, please.
Can't you see we're excited you're back?
We missed you so much those days you weren't with us. Now the trio of sisters got annoyed, each pouting. Now it was my turn to laugh. They're so delicate, but what could I say? They look so adorable. I got up and walked over to them. With both hands I pinched their cheeks, which were puffed out, so to speak. Girls, I just want to finish this quickly so we can spend time together, the four of us, because I missed you too. Oh, okay, my three little butterflies nodded. I'll take them to the Shadow Theater if it's nothing important. More than anything, it mentions that they are requesting an investigation in certain parts of the city. Shinobu explained to the hunters and pillars present what the mission was about. Can people validate what they're speculating about? Zenitsu commented. It's complicated, half of us are sure and the other half aren't. Kanny wasn't entirely convinced. It would be a risk to her companions and to Kiryu himself. How many days do we have before we leave? Now it was Sanmi who asked. We must be there in the morning, Kano replied. Everything that was happening was overwhelming her, so she stroked her friend Kaburamaru. What do you think, Tanjiro? Since Haijima's death, Tanjiro took the title of the most powerful pillar, so in the absence of his leader Kiryu Yubayashiki, he had to make the decisions. I'd like to go investigate alone. I wouldn't want to risk all of you. We can't let our guard down. What if it's a trap? Tanjiro showed such a reluctant attitude to allow his companions to get hurt. We must take risks here, but you're right, only the 7 of us will go, Shinazugawa emphasized, gesturing to the 6 existing pillars. The others should stay and protect Lord Kiryu. Okay, all of this left a bad taste in my mouth, but I didn't want to pay for their fighting spirit. They were already fed up with dealing with demons, and if it were true, we'd end it all once and for all. Koacc Tanjiro a message. My crow's presence on my head was limited to pecking me on the forehead and then delivering a message it carried in its leg. Brother, I'm already on my way, just wait for me a few hours. I read it, but Zenitsu's shouts for my sister began to overwhelm me. Enizuko, my love, Enizuko is coming to see me. The lightning pillar was so excited that he jumped for joy. Everyone present watched the scene with cartoonish eyes like Nezuko's in the anime, and they really loved the girl. Anyway, she doesn't care about you. Hey, who said that? The blonde man looked around, searching for the one who had disrespected him. Let's rest. I turned around, letting my cape billow in the breeze I created, and left the room to go outside the estate to wait for my younger sister. Time dragged on, and the young pillar waited anxiously for his younger sister. A year had passed since he'd last seen her, after she'd left with her fellow pillar Jiu Tomioka and their master Sakanji Yurikodaki to train in the art of water swordsmanship. He calmly watched the radiant sky fade from its azure hue to orange, then gray, and finally black. The moon rose, descending towards the sun, the stars as endless as the sand on the seashore, and though his sister might be delayed, he wouldn't budge, for his longing to see her was as vast as that white celestial body. Darling, aren't you cold? One of his beautiful women arrived carrying a blanket which she placed over his head. She had always been very mischievous, and he loved that about her. No, of course not, I'm fine and thank you very much for the blanket. He took the blanket and wrapped it around her, leaving her like a caterpillar. You're going through your transformation into a butterfly. She let out a good laugh. Haha, how funny. She looked at him annoyed, leaning between her legs. A very beautiful woman will come from her, I assure you, he said, lowering his head to kiss her. I love you and your sisters with all my heart. And we love you. His other 2 beautiful women arrived while hugging him from behind, bringing with them a tray with 4 cups of coffee and some pillows. Now the 4 of them waited. A wave of happiness washed over him as he remembered how he and his sisters used to get together to watch movies on Friday nights. He didn't have that anymore, but he had them in a way, and that was something to be grateful for. The warmth emanating from her body slowly enveloped them, and one by one they fell asleep. They love you so much, big brother, Nezuko said, sitting down across from him. Seeing her brother so happy made her happy too. They were such good girls. You can say that again. With utmost gentleness, she lowered one of her arms to stroke the head of her newly arrived younger sister. I missed you so much, Nezuko. I won't get all mushy like you. I already have you here with me. I gladly accept the show of affection. It's time to do my duty. I'll do it when they wake up. He nervously scratched the back of his neck. They'll be mad at me if I wake them up. That's complicated, brother. I will find them again. The 7 pillars of Kiryu Yubayashiki Tanjiro Kamado, Sanmi Shinazugawa Kani Kacho, Shinobu Kacho, Zenitsu Agatsuma Kano Tsuyuri Inasu Kashibara, and the newly arrived Sugyuko Nezuko Kamado were all resting after their long train journey to Osaka. The silence surrounding them was unsettling. The pillar with the fiery eyes awoke to check if anything seemed amiss. All that could be heard was the roaring wind galloping against the metal behemoth, along with the distinctive sound of the massive wheels whirring at high speeds. He navigated by sight. His 3 wives and his sister were asleep in his arms, so he couldn't do much in terms of movement. Because of this, he couldn't fall back asleep, so he just watched the night scene through the window, where the trees disappearing almost instantly were his program. For some strange reason, unease gripped him. He wasn't calm, as if something horrible was about to happen. Not being able to sleep was harming him. He was making up such crazy and ridiculous things. My dear, that sweet voice whispered his name. His precious wife Canny kept her gaze on his somewhat paranoid face. Go back to sleep. I don't like how you look. I can hear your heartbeat, and it's very high. She looked at him with great concern, wondering exactly what was wrong. It's just that I didn't want you to come with me. I have a feeling this is very dangerous for the 4 of you. That calm voice turned worried and serious. The Hashira still had that bad taste in his mouth. Now he hated that his wives and sister had this deadly profession. We're not children and you know it. We can help you in different ways. It bothers me a little that you think so highly of yourself just because Kibutsuji said you were superior to us. Canny looked very angry, so much so that she turned her face away. No, it's just that in their current state our children will be harmed. Before he left to train, the Kacho sisters decided to make love to him. They were now expectant mothers and his annoyance stemmed from this, not wanting to risk his wives and their longed-for future children. We can still do something. Our children cannot be born into the same torment we live in alongside these demons, said the beautiful woman with short hair. Yes. The train passed a curve, allowing a glimpse of what was approaching. 2 beings that blended into the darkness, leaving only their glowing blood-red eyes, awaited them between the tracks. An overwhelming shock wave managed to knock down and overturn the train carrying the 8 people. Tanjiro in his combat form, or Muzan if you prefer to call him that, emerged carrying his other companions among his bone tentacles, leaving them on the ground and indicating that they should cover their ears. On its chest opened that great monstrous mouth that launched a powerful EMP, managing to impact against the strange beings. The pillars drew their swords, ready to attack. Not bad at all, Muzan. The beings, who turned out to be men, emerged from the smoke screen. Just like Tanjiro, they began to unfurl a multitude of flesh and bone whips from their backs as their arms lengthened and became covered in razor-sharp blades. But you're still not at our level. Breath of Thunder, first stance. Breath of the Beast, second fang. Zenitsu and Inosuke moved forward, however. Both strangers managed to stop their attacks with ease. They're so predictable. Idiots. What they didn't count on was that Tanjiro, enveloped in a blazing fire, managed to take them by surprise by cutting off both their hands with his sword full of sharp crescent moons. Shinazugawa was stunned by this. Those distinctive moons, they were from Kokoshibo's breathing. Breathe. The pillar with blood-red eyes drew a second sword. He gripped the one on his left side tightly. It began to turn white as small flames erupted from it. He gripped the one on his right side tightly as well. It turned black as small crescent moons appeared. Deep within that swordsman, yin and yang mingled. Yoriichi and Kokoshibo lived as one. That hunter was portrayed as the ultimate being, for he had mastered the most powerful breathing techniques, the breath of the sun and the breath of the moon, surpassing even his ancestors' wildest dreams. Breath of the eclipse, 7th stance. Supernova. The swordsman charged after them like an arrow, striking and generating a massive tornado of colors. Don't mess with me. What on earth was going on? It was ridiculous what was happening before their eyes. Tanjiro Kamado, a simple charcoal seller, had risen to become like a god. You're a damned Muzan, the revealed demons growled as they tried to remove the swords from their chests. One was burning up and chunks of flesh were flying from the other's body. They were seconds away from death if they didn't manage to remove those swords. Then we'll take your companions to hell. Buajijijiji, Aajijijiji, brother, plate. From the same darkness emerged a massive number of demons who impaled his companions, his sister, and his wives. Dinoworo. When he became careless, he too was impaled by his own swords, which came from those 2 demons. Tanjiro, with their last bit of strength, Zenitsu, Sanemi, and Inosuke reached out to him, but the new wave of demons caused them to explode, leaving only their hands. Brother Nezuko couldn't do much as she was pierced through her heart and legs. I should have listened to you, as she was devoured by the demons. Tanji, Shinobu, Kano, and Canny were pierced through their abdomens and chests. They struggled to utter their last words as they coughed up blood. We love you. They were all murdered so brutally right before his eyes, blood dripping from their bodies. Sons of Bitches. A hail of spears rained down upon him, piercing his entire body, perforating his organs, and leaving him completely immobile. You are too powerful and deadly for us, In a few seconds we will send you to them.
Not by his filthy hands.
Despite remaining motionless, he managed to incinerate them with the intense flames that erupted from his eyes. He was so pained that his fire turned black, lashing out against everything in its path. Their moment of peace came when their swords were plunged into them, tearing out all their hearts.
Tanjiro Kamado had died. Nai-san.
With a sudden, jerky movement, young Tanjiro Kacho jumped out of bed. Tears streaming down his face like waterfalls, it was all so awful. He found himself surrounded by 3 beautiful teenage girls who were crying with happiness. The long wait was over, his beloved brother had returned to them. Oni-san, we missed you. Shinobu sobbed as she held her brother in a tight hug. You're awake.
Kaiana sa Chinobu Kaianao.
He couldn't take it anymore, it was all so horrible, a straight path to hell, but what had it all been?
Tanjiro looked very pale and his body was very thin. He could barely sit up if it weren't for his sister Kano helping him by being under her arm.
Ag.
We killed Kajin.
Sahiko, let's get out of here before the sun comes up. That bastard only needed a pair of eyes to kill all our followers. It doesn't matter anymore, we can get more. The important thing is that we've now eliminated the only ones who were limiting us for now. How weak Muzan is, we could wipe them all out in an instant, including his heir. What an imbecile, we were lucky he could have killed us if we hadn't distracted him. Damn this, without Muzan, we're no longer the Trinity. Our Lord would be angry, he was his favorite.
Let's get out of here. The 2 demons disappeared from the redhead's sight.
With his last bit of strength, he pulled out the swords that were stuck in him and crawled to his loved ones. The entire path became a trail of blood. Tanjiro, Shinobu, Kano and Kani, dying, managed to see their beloved husband arrive at them, drawing a pleasant smile on their faces. Drink my blood, you can be saved. Her tears of blood had dried as she saw how broken they were. Damn it, please drink it. No, said the 3 beautiful butterflies. We prefer to die as humans than live as demons. No, don't leave me alone, please, he cried desperately. If you do, I will never forgive you. The 3 of them caressed the face of the man they had fallen in love with.
We're not going to do it. We promise we'll see you again soon.
Kani handed him her phone, which had a picture of the 3 of them as its wallpaper. You didn't have to ask, you didn't need to spy on us.
Thank you for loving us, Tanjiro.
And with a final breath, their souls ascended to heaven alongside the rest of the others. Unfortunately, what he had wanted to avoid had happened. Frustrated and filled with pain, he tore out his eyes. He didn't want to see a world without them. He grasped his swords, remembering something. He just had to have faith in what he was about to do. He took a deep breath, letting his soul ascend with those of all his loved ones, and without hesitation, he beheaded himself. I will find them again.
I swear. I opened my eyes, they hurt terribly.
I couldn't move, I was too weak, just observing. I was in my bed in my room, my nightstand beside me as usual with the light on. The clock struck 2 in the morning. Its distinctive ticking sound echoed in my ears. I would have continued staring at the ceiling if I hadn't felt something on my arms. My beloved sisters, Kani, Shinobu and Kano, were sleeping so peacefully that I felt like kissing their foreheads even though they were now wearing my Demon Slayer uniform. Why am I crying? Why am I doing this? I just watched them and the tears started flowing on their own. I don't understand. A little spark of thought shook my brain, but oh well, what can I do? I'll ask them tomorrow because I'm going back to sleep. They're here with me.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.